it's dawned on me that you ain't coming back. I've lost my chance to see us find our way back. And in the end, amidst these trying times, I'll always try to find you. I'll allow you to find the truth that you hold back. So stay with me. You know that I'll follow. I can't breathe. Together we'll fall apart. Stay here right in my arms, and we'll start again. So stay.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed, and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to the Sim Racing Magazine Daytona Classic, sponsored by Orris Digital. Boy, oh boy, we've been excited to come here for a long, long time. It was just under a month ago that this event was announced, and we're finally here. 36 teams, 72 drivers signed up. Unfortunately, some of them not able to make it tonight on the day. But we wish all of those drivers and teams the best and hope that they can at least tune in, or, of course, if they are doing anything else or have other commitments, that they are damn worth it, because we're going to have a great night tonight. Chaz Draycott and the wonderful Ed May in the commentary box with you, as we have been throughout the entire Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge season. Ed, we are both, well, I mean, we've been drooling over the machinery on show tonight. What can people expect to see out on the circuit this evening?
Pretty much exactly what we saw earlier on just last week, wasn't it? Great entertaining racing courtesy of Sim Racing Magazine. It feels like just the blink of an eye when we saw the second season of the GT4 challenge come to an end. And here we get to have a real celebration of all things Sim Racing Magazine. The community has come together to put on a brilliant special event. Another 2.4 hours of racing, this time at the Daytona International Speedway, with some, I think, rather retro machinery, it's fair to say. We've got the wonderful old LMP, the HPD. Such a beautiful car, such a fun car to drive as well. If I wasn't going to be in the comms booth, that would be the car I'd be chucking around this circuit, because it's a riot to drive, it really is. And then we've got the GT1 class, one that we don't see run too often in organised leagues, so great to see it out, getting some time in the spotlight. The Aston Martin DBR9, such a wonderful sounding car. But if we're talking about the sound of a machine, Chaz, I know you absolutely love the Corvette. Only a couple of them out on circuit, but I'll tell you what, they are going to be a real treat for the ears, because you can just hear it. Oh, it's disgusting, isn't it? A wonderful sounding machine, and it's going to be great to see it on home soil as well. Corvette here at Daytona. That is a ridiculous sound. Love it. And then I know a car that's really close to your heart, Chaz, the BMW Z4 GT3. A car that you've always said you've enjoyed driving, even if it was a bit of a handful at times, but so it does look beautiful. Great to see it getting some love.
It really is. I first competed in my very first Daytona 24 hours round here, actually, in this car, and I was very, very pleased to be driving it. It's a real safe bet of a car, you know. It makes a great racket as well with its big V8 engine. I think it's a 4-litre V8 in this machine. Makes a lot of bangs and rattles and pops and bangs and all sorts. It is epic, epic fun to drive. This is the fastest of them at the moment. Jack Ashton for Team Fordzilla, currently top during practice. Not long left to go in this session now. There will be some of the liveries that we wait to just have loaded. We've got Porsche Sport out there on track tonight in this gorgeous DHL branded machine from the RS Spider from back in the day. Josh Cam in the Porsche Sport entry, and then the other car is the number 7 machine, which is the Porsche Sport podcast entry, which is Peter Mackay and Paul Rieger. As you can see, very, very quick through this part of the circuit. But you're in love with the Aston Martins here, Ed, and I mean, I don't blame you, mate, because we'll go on board for a moment and listen to this V12 sing.
It's a thing of beauty, isn't it? You just love that amazing whine, almost like a siren song of the V12. Not many cars that sound like it nowadays, which is a great shame. I think the only one that comes close to it is, of course, the 911 RSR. It's the unfiltered scream that you get from all 12 of those cylinders that it just shakes your bones, and over the bumps as well. You can hear it just putting the power down, a little bit uncomfortable about it, but it's the raw power of that thing. I mean, DBR9, sadly, not in use anymore, but she's a lovely beast, as we see. Oh, perfect display of multi-class, white knuckle riding, as we saw the LMP2 car, the GT3 car, and the GT1 going side by side.
That was John Barnes there in the Boosted Motorsport orange machine. Their livery for me hasn't loaded at this end, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. You can hear the rolling thunderstorm in front of them, though, which is Rich Cawthraw in the FTR Esports machine. Let's just go on board with this Corvette, shall we, and just witness the noise as he gets on the power. It's just disgusting. Listen to it.
Filth.
It's epic. It really is. They're actually... there seems to be something weird going on with the setup tonight, unfortunately, which I'm really regretting, because the Corvettes do not seem to be able to get anything like the times of the Aston Martins. But hopefully they can sort that out, because we obviously want it to be a bit of a mix in terms of who does well and where. You've got the Apex Racing Academy car just behind there. But it's just an awesome, awesome grid. And to be fair, we talked about these Aston Martins making a great noise, Ed. I was lucky enough to hear an Aston Martin V12 screaming midway through last year while I was at the Hungaroring. One of their old V12 Vantage GT3 cars was racing in the GT Open, and let me tell you, the echo of that thing down the start-finish straight at the Hungaroring when you stood at the back of the grandstand, well, it sounds just like that, funnily enough. Epic thing. This is one of my favourite liveries for tonight, though, KB Racing. It's based on the KP Nuts branding, which Martin Kenyon has done with his teammate Ben Bennyworth. These two are going to be having plenty of fun tonight. We're going to be absolutely spoilt for choice this evening, but the thing is, these are all teams and lineups that we've not seen that often before. We've seen the occasional drivers on their own, but we've not had a massive amount of just these drivers and teams working together as such, have we? We've not seen too much of it.
No, we haven't, but obviously we do have a little bit of familiarity in the form of the second car in the GT1 class. We have the Apex Racing Academy lot, Dan McCauley and Lewis Ward. Lewis, who is the reigning SRM GT4 Challenge champion, and he's going to be wanting to cap off what has been a brilliant campaign with a special event victory, but looking at the times coming through, he's going to have his work cut out for him, because it is so competitive in that GT1 class just based on practice alone.
It absolutely is, and what's going to be even more competitive for them is the fact that it's an open qualifying session here, 20 minutes, and all of the cars are out on track together. It's not going to be a popular choice for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things, I'm afraid. It's part and parcel of multi-class racing. You're going to have to deal with being around them. Let's have a look through the grid, though, and see some of the other drivers that have been competing in the championship we have just completed only last week, actually. Ben Gregory's racing in the Aston Martin for Team Overtake with his teammate Rob Lundgren. Ben was, of course, in the GT4 Challenge. So too was John Barnes as well. Kim Such, another driver that was out there. He's racing for Back of Grid Racing this evening. We've got Jacob Money as well in the gorgeous Positively Racing DJ Z4. It's such a striking and bold livery. Who else have we got? Christopher Smith, RD Sim Sport 2, also in a BMW. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. Their boss man, Rob Sutherland. Very funny bloke is Rob. Really enjoyed chatting away with him. I've been chatting with him a lot the last couple of weeks. John Roberts. We've got Mike Horder as well. Flipping out. We've got loads of them. Simon Povey and his teammate Gary Tall in the Spontex CDM Esports LMP2 entry in the HPD. I do think the livery suits that car very well, but I must admit, I don't think it suits it as well as it suits this Z4, the Spontex CDM Esports car. Yes, I'm biased. Does look stunning in this livery, I must say.
It looks absolutely beautiful, doesn't it? And the SRM branding there on the little wingtips, it does accent the car beautifully, and it is great, of course, to have a look at all of the cars. I mean, this one, Chaz, you've knocked out of the park with the design on this one. The SRM Racing Team, the 111, Paul Goffin behind the wheel. What a beautiful little wagon that is.
Yeah, I was actually quite amazed. A lot of people really like this livery, and I think it's come out very well indeed. A very tasty looking machine. The guys were very happy with it as well, and it's just one of those cars where it can be a nightmare to paint sometimes, but if you just take your time with certain details on it, you can just stumble upon something really cool. And I wanted to do some of the panels black and some of them yellow, but then I started adding a bit of an outline to the black panels and took away some of the edging, and I don't know, it just worked out. It just ended up really working out. Did the sort of white spine down the middle of the car, and I think it looks absolutely epic. Hello everybody that's in the chat at the moment. Great to see you all. Really hope you're enjoying your evening. It's great to have you here with us. Brian Parkins. Yanis is in there as well. Is that you, Yanis Albert? You legend. We've got online race driver ORD in there. Come on, Dan and Joe, I should say. Best of luck. Porsche Sport as well. We've got SRL TV, Matt Draycott, my brother's there, Gareth Messam on Facebook, White Van Gaming, Mark Johnson, 11 tenths, Colin Wynn, D1T, Peter Marsden, Dan Thornton, all of you. Great to see you all. Really hope you're all well. And we're going to give you as much of a entertaining evening as we can. We look here at reigning CDM Formula Renault 3.5 champion and CDM Formula 1 world champion Cam Dance in a bit of a different car tonight, Ed. This isn't the sort of machine we normally see Cam in, is it? In the very shiny Orbit Racing, Orbit Motorsport Jupiter car.
Yeah, as soon as I saw Cam Dance enter the server, I thought, oh my word, he's going to be tearing apart the HPD in the LMP2 class, but it turns out no, he's, like me, got a real soft spot for this DBR9. What a beautiful car it is, what a beautiful sounding car. We're going to keep going on and on about it all evening long because it is just such a wonderful bit of kit. The first time's coming through, though, in this qualifying session. Currently boosted Motorsport Green top the standings in LMP2. Team overtake top the standings in GT1. Of course, the track is just bedding in at the moment, putting down some rubber and obviously getting heat into the tyres. So we're not going to be seeing the pole times coming in just yet, but great to see. Drivers trying to find some space to get some laps in. At least trying to find some space. Look at that. There was already a few tussles there going into the International Horseshoe.
This is the Chicane Online Racing Blue machine of Nels Core. And Core indeed. It looks great. Really does, with the metallic blue all over it. John Roberts and John Barnes just now behind them. Boosted Motorsport Green and then orange. The following cars. Dan McCauley on a purple lap here in the GT1 class. He's about to cross the line now in the Aston Martin. He's got to beat a 139.551 of All Sports Racing, and he does that by just under a tenth of a second. But the man that did so well in Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge this season puts him and his teammate, reigning champion Lewis Ward, at the top of that pile. The times continue to pour in, and it's Gareth Messam for Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks that's fastest in GT3 right now. And this livery, Ed, this raced for real in the British GT Championship years and years ago, and they have brought it back out for us tonight. What a treat on the eyes this thing is. Great livery.
Oh, it's beautiful. I remember seeing that Demon Tweaks livery. It looks so good and equally striking in the sim as well. You can see, though, a little bit of planning to try and get into the sort of a nice little window in qualifying. All the time when it is an open qualifying session, you need to keep your eyes on the relative as well as on the road, which makes it that little bit extra challenging. You've just noticed something, Chaz.
Well,
that is a really strong time by Josh Cam.
Well, for a moment he was 8/10 clear of everybody, and it's only the Chicane Online Racing blue car that's just gone second fastest. But Josh Cam absolutely flying at the moment. I know that when he signed up for the event, there were drivers that noticed him. He's a real star. Very, very quick indeed, but that's a belter of a lap. 1 minute 35 round Daytona. Just shows you how quick these good old HPDs are, doesn't it? I hate calling it the HPD because it really is an Acura, and it's the ARX-01C, but it just doesn't all roll off the tongue as well. Peter Mackay puts a purple sector in the middle of his lap. Peter's been very, very quick in this car. He absolutely loves it. Oh no, contact there with the 222. That was... trying to find out who that was actually. Was it Danny Jones that was in the car? Go on, Danny, just rev it. Just give us a laugh. Phenomenal. Fastest at the moment, still Gareth Messam in GT3, and it's Brabham Esports GT1, Dan Handover, that's top of the pile. Now, that livery looks good on that car. It is a stunner, isn't it? I was talking to Calvin Dent, one of the team principals, throughout the week, and, well, you and I both know Dan Handover is no slouch, is he? He's a good boy.
No, he isn't. A quick peddler and also quite a decent commentator as well, so it's good to see those skills transferring over. It seems something about it in the booth, because obviously Peter Mackay, also a excellent commentator and not a bad race by the looks of things, as he's currently third in the LMP2 class. As I say that, he just gets shuffled back down into fourth, but rest assured he's going to be right back up there, because I remember actually racing against him in the Rock Around the Clock, or a bit of the clock, at Lime Rock, the other SRM special event that we had late last year. I tell you what, he was a real threat in that race.
He absolutely was. We're going to just take a second to look at the track map. You can see just how busy it is. Pit lane has barely any cars in it at the moment, just the one. It's Jacob Money in the Positively Racing DJ machine. Simon Povey and Jack Ashton haven't put a solid time on the board yet. We do have one Christian Braun apparently joining the session, but he's going to get kicked out very quickly, I can tell you that for free. Unfortunately, Chaz didn't put a password on the session, it seems. So in the next 12 minutes or so, before qualifying finishes, we need to make sure that any intruders are dealt with. But still, we've got a very full field, and we're going to have a lot of entertainment tonight to look at. This is Simon right now in the Spontex CDM Esports LMP2 car. He's not been able to get a time on the board yet. I was talking to Simon about his helmet design. He says he's had that sort of shark face design for so long, he doesn't ever want to get rid of it now. We've got Lewis Ward in the YouTube chat as well. Good to see you, Lewis. Hope you're doing all right, mate. Dan is certainly doing a good old job in quali at the minute, but it's Porsche Sport top with Josh Cam as Boosted Motorsport Virage go up into fourth place. Very well done indeed. Josh Cam's actually just done another purple sector on that lap, but does not improve. And the times keep on ticking. Archie Coveney for RD Sim Sport 4. God, that's a good looking car, isn't it? Wow, fantastic looking machine. And it looks always, Ed, like the back end of this car really does float along for the ride, doesn't it? It always looks sideways in fast corners. It's weird for an LMP car.
It's so fun to drive. Honestly, Chaz, it's a wonderful little bit of kit. And I was just gutted as soon as they announced the 217 to take over the LMP2 class, the Dallara, because I was just enjoying HPD far too much. It was so great, a real riot to drive, and also because I was actually decently quick in it. And then as soon as it went to the newer model, I just struggled with the pace on it. And maybe it is something about the little loose nature of it that really does invite you just to take that little bit extra and really push the limits. And I think it's more just about being the bravest driver out on the circuit when you're in that car, because like you say, it's a little bit slidey, a little bit sketchy at times, but you have to do that to drive quick in it.
You absolutely do. I'm just partway through doing something at the moment, so apologies for this. Just taking my my time to try and remove said Christian Braun from the session, because I've realised that nobody else is an admin in the session, Ed. I've just tried to make yourself one, but because we are spectators here, I cannot do that from this point, I don't believe, so we'll have to just deal with that. But we've not, to be fair, had many people try and join it yet, which is good. I mean, a lot of people don't just sort of jump into random hosted sessions, I don't think. Anyway, away from all of that, I'm being a bit too honest for my own good here. Ben Gregory's about to cross the line and potentially improve his lap time for team overtake, although he does disappear into the pits. Stuart Clark, who I actually met for the first time over the weekend at Race Retro. He's out there in the Rusty's Roasts racing machine. Doesn't that look great? It's quite a simple livery, but it just seems to work on every car, doesn't it?
It does. It's just about the colours, isn't it? The lovely little bit of white and red, but it accents the areas beautifully. You see it on the rear wing as well, or even on the inside, that lovely red trim stands out. And you see Stuart Clark going along. He's in a little bit of a battle actually with John Bunsen and Paul Goffin, because they're not too distant from him at the moment in terms of lap time. Having a look though in the GT1 class, it's as close as anything up front. When it comes to the front row, it seems that if your name's not Dan, you ain't getting in, because it's Dan Handover and Dan McCauley who currently lead the way in GT1.
Here's the All Sports Racing entry. Arthur Thurtle behind the wheel, currently third fastest in their class. Then we've got Peter Jerker in this gorgeous TBC Racing Blue machine. TBC have got two cars out there tonight. TBC Racing Blue, the Czech driver Peter Jerker driving at the moment. Then we've got Robert Moron in the TBC Racing Red entry. Great to see two of them together. One of the Corvettes in the middle of the pack actually. Rich Cawthorne currently in 7th position in class. And just excuse me while I have a bit of a man moment there, sorry. Oh, just listen to it.
Yeah, we need to have some sort of age warning on this, because that is just
God.
pure adult content. That is disgustingly beautiful, isn't it? A really nice sounding car. But I've just noticed as well, Chaz, there's a bit of a battle in qualifying going on amongst all of this man moment that we're having, because Mike Horder has just closed the gap massively to Josh Cam, top of the LMP2 class, Boosted Motorsport Virage, less than a 10th off of pole position.
Yeah, indeed. Very, very close all up at the top end. There was a bit of shenanigans going on there with a bit of lap traffic. It didn't all quite work. But I was saying just before we went live, actually, to Ed, that I needed to remove one of the adverts and not do any adverts so I can actually monetize this stream, because my own advert has a song that demonetizes my videos, it seems. So I can't stream that advert anymore. But still, I think we're still not going to get monetized for the fact that that Corvette is just, yeah, like you say, Ed, there certainly has to be an age rating on this thing. But right now, the drivers have 7 minutes of qualifying left to go. We have a 2 hour and 25 minute race ahead of us, 2.4 hours. And I'm very, very excited to see how it all pans out, because we're going to be racing into the darkness, Ed. It's going to be sunset about an hour after the race begins. So we're going to have another hour and 25 minutes after that. So it should be dark with maybe about an hour or so to go.
There are some paints that I would really love to see under the lights. I mean, this being one of them. Love the yellow headlights.
Will look very good.
And the lovely yellow trim. That'll look really nice with a nice, lovely matte finish. They have got though. Cars
Bye, Drew.
disappearing and then reappearing, which could be a worry for the other cars in this qualifying session. Cars that blink in and out always cause unpredictability, and as soon as you've got cars travelling at speed and a little bit of questionable netcode nature, you can see big incidents occur. Saudi Sim Sport 4 into 4th position, just a little bit shy of Chicane Online Racing Blue, about a 10th of a second. A pair of them.
As Jack Ashton puts Team Fordzilla top by 18 thousandths of a second. Wow, 65 thousandths covering the top 3 in GT3 at the moment. That is really, really cool. Amazing stuff to see. Niall Crowther in the chat saying the intruders just want championship points, which is an inside joke between us. 53 thousandths now. There's not even a 10th between any of the top 2 in any class. That's just remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. You've got to love that. Very, very close indeed. I would like to have the gaps out on the left-hand side like that with the car numbers, but it's just a little bit too big, I think, if we have the car numbers there. Maybe if we have the drivers' names, but again, it's a little bit big. I don't want it to be sort of overloaded with info, so do please forgive me for just messing with that info for just a second there. But I wanted to just see how it all looked, if we could at least muck about with it. We'll give you the team names though, and when the race is on and we don't have the qualifying graphics at the bottom of the screen, you will have the driver's name and the car number and the team and all sorts in the bottom left of your screen anyway. So, Any predictions, Ed? Because Josh Cam and his teammate right now, car number 7, Peter Mackay, working together. God, that's a sight and a half, isn't it? Look at that. Look at the teamwork here. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
That is wonderfully timed, and Josh Cam had a purple first sector on this current lap. So we're going to see as they come across the line now. Look at them. Look at how strong the slipstream is. He saw that Pete Mackay gave up the position and then handed it straight back and was almost right up the rear end. But look at that. He improves. Still doesn't get enough of a safety buffer to be over a tenth of a second, though. So while Porsche Sport do improve on their lap time, there's still scope for Boosted Motorsport Virage and Mike Horton to close their way back up, but they will need some super strong slipstream. They've got plenty of teammates. There's about 4 Boosted Motorsport cars in the LMP2 class, but you only need one to give you that slipstream and gain that time, because around here it's worth a whole chunk of lap time.
It's great to see the two of them together. It almost looked like it was David Coulthard racing in that car there, because Peter Mackay wears his helmet design. Awesome to see, though, that fantastic RS Spider livery. There's an improvement there by Boosted Motorsport Green. Puts Lee Berridge into 6th as he has a spin around the first corner. That's not the only car that we're going to see spinning around there tonight. Cam Dance has gone 2nd fastest in GT1 for Orbit Motorsport Jupiter. That means now the top 3 are only separated by 53 thousandths of a second. There's 6 thousandths between 2nd and 3rd. And I mean, look at it, 8 cars separated by a second. Around here at Daytona, that's nothing at all, is it?
It really isn't. It's as close as you like, and we are going to be in for a real treat if the field is going to be this competitive for the next, 2.4 hours worth of racing, 2 hours and 25 minutes of Daytona. We're going to be in for a real classic scrappers. Oh, look at this. Simon Povey now goes up into 3rd place onto the 2nd row of the grid in LMP2. Context CDI and Esports LMP2 car. Just a 10th off of that provisional pole position lap time set by Porsche Sport.
Yeah, that top time at the moment is an absolute belter. Looks very, very good indeed. But these LMP2s just... It's an interesting LMP2 car, this, because it looks very skinny and very lightweight. Normally, LMP2 cars, they look beefy and heavy and like they're really glued to the road. This looks like it's really high off the ground and very... It's like the wheels are too big for it, you know what I mean? It's odd. It's just a really odd little LMP2 car, but I do think it looks absolutely stunning. I'm intrigued to see how these lot get on. This is Josh Cam and Peter Mackay again, making their way around lap traffic. That was the KB Racing BMW, currently 7th in their class. I wanted to have a little look at the back of grid racing machine, which is living up to its name at the moment, with Ryan Penny at the wheel, but it's a great looking car with the Jägermeister branding up the side of it as well. They've got Team ORD ahead of them, Joe Gibson, then Simon Price in the Spontex CDM Esports GT3 machine. Let's just listen to the BMW there. That whine from the gearbox. Oh, I could definitely do a 2.5 hour race in this. Sounds awesome.
You could do more than that by the sounds of it, Chaz. You could do the whole 24 hours just by yourself. It is a car that I know you really do love, and to be fair, it's one that I think I'm starting to love more and more, that we see it out on the circuit and hear it and go on board. It is a really nice car just to look at. I haven't actually had the pleasure of driving it, sadly, in the sim. Back in the day, I was a big fan of the old Mercedes that's now become legacy content. So, oh, look at these two Astons. It's almost like they're racing for real, let alone being at a qualifying session. Brabham Esports car, though, like you say, Chaz. Really lovely looking car. That dark green on an Aston Martin. Mwah. Beautiful.
You cannot argue with it, can you? It's Dan Handover currently driving that machine, and he is fastest in qualifying at the moment. Only 47 thousandths of a second. Fordzilla have opened up that gap in GT3. They're now just over a tenth of a second quicker than Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks. But a lot of this, as you know, Ed, is going to come down to traffic management, down to pit stops. It's not all going to be down to outright pace here tonight. And, oh, God, I'm not going to get used to that. And I don't want to, because the noise of this is just not going to get old. Listen to this. Heaven. Heaven on earth. We've got V12s, beefy V8s, we've got whiny gearboxes, and we've also got the very high-pitched, almost touring car sounding LMP2 cars. Fantastic stuff. Look at that as well by Mike Horder. 13 thousandths of a second off the top spot. for Boosted Motorsport Virage. What a lap that is. Brabham Esports GT1 go even quicker and extend their pole position time. Mike Horder doing an amazing job there to end up 4th. And, well, there's a big old mix of drivers up and down the order, and this is what's going to keep us entertained throughout the entire thing, Ed. It's going to be very, very close all the way through the field, I think. It looks like Fordzilla have got that GT3 pole position as well. Very well done to Jack Ashton, the man, the myth, the legend that races a purple MG Metro, or has done for the last few years anyway. Anyone that you've got your money on at this point, Ed? Anybody that you just think, God, they've definitely got this in the bag? Because, I mean, it's too close to call, really, if I had to try and put my money on it.
Yeah, no, there's no way you couldn't really settle on one team. I think we're going to be in for a real corker, though, in the LMP2 class, because both Porsche Sport and Boosted Motorsport Virage have got super strong driver lineups. Mike Horder set an amazing time, but we were talking in the lead up to the event, his teammate Sam Bentham is no slouch either. He is a real quick peddler from all the races we've seen in your championships that you run, Chaz. I believe the Formula Renault 3.5. He was pretty quick as well, pretty handy behind the wheel of that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a lot of drivers here that we've seen displaying great talent in so many different cars in our time commentating and broadcasting. And I'm excited to see who can come out on top tonight then. We've got just a moment or so now as qualifying comes to an end. We'll look at the results of qualifying and we'll do it per class. And then in a moment, we will just have a quick break here on Chaz Draycott Media. Ed and I will just go and get a drink, get prepared, because we're going to try and go all the way through this 2.5 hour race. What we'll probably do, to be fair, is maybe get to the sort of 1.5 hour point, have a quick few minutes break, and then come back to you and then do a bit of a recap. But we've got warm-up starting just now, and we're going to put a little bit of music on while we have just a look through at how that session was completed. I mean, it was very, very close indeed. But if we look right now, hello, at the very noisy, very noisy pit lane. This is how the LMP2 field finished their qualifying session. Porsche Sport on top by just 12 thousandths of a second from Boosted Motorsport Virage. Sponsex CDM Esports LMP2 will start on the second row of the grid alongside Chicane Online Racing Blue. RD Simsport 4 are alongside Boosted Motorsport Green, and then Porsche Motorsport Podcast Car 7 will start P7 alongside Boosted Motorsport Orange. Rusty's Roast Racing with another boosted car, Boosted Motorsport Pink, meaning that they're all actually on the same side of the grid. They start 10th. Then it's SRM Racing Team and GM Goodwrench Racing. Just ignore them. They weren't there, really. Ed, do you want to take us through the GT1s?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chaz. This was how the GT1 qualifying concluded, with the Brabham Esports GT1 top of the pile by 1.5 tenths of a second to Orbit Motorsport Jupiter. Then we have RD Simsport, the team's champions from last season. The season just concluded in the SM GT4 Challenge. Going to see what they can do from the second row of the grid. Just a little ahead of, well, their rivals in the team's championship last season, Apex Racing Academy. What a storyline that is.
Oh, yeah.
On the second row of the grid. Then we come down to 5th place. We have All Sports Racing ahead of TBC Racing Blue, which make up the third row of the grid. We come to Team Overtake, a real exciting car, lovely livery as well. We haven't shone a spotlight on it, but we will do as the race goes on. I'm certain ahead of FTR Esports, RD Simsport 3, of TBC Racing Red, Orris Racing, and then two cars that don't matter. Chaz takes away with the GT3 qualifying now.
Oh God, that's what went down the wrong way then. Yes, indeed. Team Fordzilla fastest in GT3s. This is all Z4 GT3s. Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks second on the front row with them. Then we have Regenta Sim Racing alongside Positively Racing DJ. RD Sim Sport 2 and Scalant Pro Driving make up the third row of the grid. We haven't seen the Scalant car actually yet. We need to have a good look at that. Listen to that noise in the background. Sounds fantastic. KB Racing in Series 1 Racing are on row 4. Back of grid racing, funnily enough, not at the back of the grid. 9th place for them, ahead of Whiskey A Go Go. And then Spontex CDM Esports GT3 and Team ORD at the back. So Ed, time for us to just take a quick break here, but we'll only be back in a few minutes, won't we? It's certainly going to be an exciting time.
Will be, mate. This will be a real corker. Stay tuned.
Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for the Sim Racing Magazine Daytona Classic, sponsored by Orris Digital. Great to have you here with us this evening. We're certainly excited for this one. As you can see, the light is already fading here at Daytona. It's going to go dark pretty quickly and admittedly earlier than I wanted it to. But still, that's absolutely fine. I just wanted to say a quick word about our sponsor for the event, Orris Digital as well, the wonderful Heinz Mayer behind that fantastic company, and he's out there racing tonight. Actually, there is a title team in one of the Corvettes, Orris Racing. There they are, flying the flag and burning all of the oil and all of the fuel and coal and whatever else that thing is powered on, chip fat and all sorts. But Orris Digital, wonderful, wonderful company. They're an e-commerce consultancy and digital marketing agency. They're specialists in B2B, business to business, and they're across business to consumer clients as well. They're actually a premier Google partner, and only 3% of Google partners achieve premier status. It's even rarer to have an agency as small and as personal as them to achieve premier status. And this is all very American right now, Ed, because it's the sort of thing that an American would read out halfway through to read an advert, while we've also got an American-themed car on an American circuit, and it actually is an American car as well, so feeling very yank and patriotic right now.
Yeehaw is all I can say about that. That's beautiful, isn't it? Wonderful looking car though, the American flag on that Corvette.
Oh,
she is a real beauty.
There's the Scalant car. We haven't shown Fausto's car yet. Fausto's spent ages painting this gorgeous BMW. I love the livery. And there he is in car number 10. He's racing in this event with, as I grab his team name, apologies, his teammate is Tom Weston in this one from the Team Sim Racing Community team. Those two working together. VG4 saying that I need to do an American accent. Absolutely not, no. Sorry. But we'll later on.
I did enough with the yeehaw. I'm not doing any more than that. You've got your bit. Enjoy it.
Later on, whenever we have an incident, we'll go to a KFC instant replay, and then we'll look back on everything. Yeah. All even the curbs here are sponsored at Daytona. Every blade of grass has a different sponsor, so we've got to let them know when you run over the Lucas Oil grass verge or whatever.
Oh yeah, the chopper cam powered by Toyota or whatever.
Absolutely. Right then, Grido. We've already basically been through this, so we're just going to show you the grid. I'm not going to go through reading every single word of this. Some of the drivers there may change over before they actually get into the car. The graphic gets generated pretty much instantly. They're going to be a bit of a spread between some of the different classes here, but we are certainly excited now to get this one underway. There's going to be so much for these drivers and teams to think about. And we here at Sim Racing Magazine and at Chaz Draycott Media cannot wait. There's so many people in the chat looking forward to it. Let us know wherever you are in the world. Let us know if you're watching, or, well, of course, let us know if you're watching. Of course you're watching. You're here. Still, let us know who you're rooting for, whether you're enjoying yourselves already, and what you expect to see from this race. We're just about to get going now, though. The field is about to peel away, and I, for one, cannot wait. The LMP2s will lead the way first off. It's going to be Josh Cam for Porsche Sport that's going to lead the pack. We are actually going to hide the timing tower on the left for just a moment so we can keep our eye on everything. Look, the GT1's then going to get going a little bit further back, so they're leaving the gap, which is nice to see. The timer will reset when they cross the line as well, so just you wait for that. Neville is watching, the doggo, says Porsche Sport. There's some good looking cars there, Ed. You reckon any 4 of those cars in that shot there could win this race?
I have no idea. To be honest, you cannot predict what will happen in this race, especially at the start of a 2.4 hour event. There's so many things that could happen, can happen, and will happen over the next 2 hours and 25 minutes. And do you know, just before the start of an endurance race, when you're sitting in the cockpit behind the wheel, you get that sort of butterfly feeling. You get that feeling of, oh, this is all exciting. Oh, I'm feeling a little bit uneasy and a bit of trepidation. I'm getting that just in the comms box. You do really start to put yourself in the position of a driver and think, here we go, we're about to go racing.
We are indeed. And just like that, the Sim Racing Magazine Daytona Classic gets underway. And look at the teamwork there as Peter Mackay tries to go down low as his teammate gets underway at the very front of the field. Josh Cam steps on the loud pedal. Let's listen back to the best sounding class here. Oh my word. And there's the Corvette of Scott Cherrington, louder than just about everything else across the line. Here comes the V8 beehive of BMW Z4 GT3s making their way down towards turn 1. We'll catch up on how they make it through the first sector in just a mo, although by the look of it, they're having a bit of a dodgy time through turn 1. Still, Josh Cam in the opening moments leads this race as Gary Toll's off. He's off for Spontex CDM Esports, and whoa, he's gone off and he's off in the RVs. Gary, where are you going? Oh, Gary's more than off. He's at the airport. He's going to have to pay to get back in now, Ed, but nightmare scenario. He's dropping down behind the GT1s who are all making it through the hairpin for the first time, and there's a great battle going on for second place here. Macaulay against Dance.
Here we go. Dan Macaulay with that lovely purple Orbit Motorsport Jupiter car, the 77. Filling in his rearview mirrors, not what he wants at the start of this race. Needs to get into the rhythm as soon as possible, even though the tyres will be working against him. Cam Dance, he's going to be really pushing to get ahead sooner rather than later and get into position to execute the strategy to perfection. See if he can close up to Dan Handover in the lead of the race.
Porsche Sport saying, Gary's just ruined someone's barbecue there. Can you imagine having your barbie and an LMP2 car comes off? Oh, flipping out. Should we have a look back at that? Sorry, Ed. I didn't mean to.
Let's have a look. Yeah, I mean, let's have a little look because I want to see exactly how that all unfolded. It was a very, very weird one. Side by side going through the dog leg and just straight on.
Luckily.
Through the RVs.
God, I bet that's quite daunting though, knowing where to go.
From driver's eye view as well, you have no idea how to get out. You'll just see all of that and think, where on earth am I?
Yeah, and the thing is as well, is that fence could very easily be something that you could hit. It could be solid, but luckily for Gary, it is not. But you can see that it takes a good old time to get back on the circuit from there. And now he's got a lot of work to do. So, opening lap completed then. The LMP2s are already halfway around their second one, and it is Josh Cam leading Mike Horder and Archie Coveney. Porsche Sport Boosted Motorsport Virage and RD SimSport 4. I'm wondering what the slipstream is going to be like around here for these guys, because it's going to be massive, but how far back are they going to be able to overtake each other from? That's going to be the question. Archie right now is about, well, he was nearly about 7/10 of a second off the car in front before. It's now about 3 and a bit. So it just shows you, but look at the closing speed on the brakes. They're great through there, aren't they, as well, through the bus stop. Now, the incident limit tonight, Ed, 40 incidents per car. Sounds a bit harsh, but you can get away with not getting incident points around Daytona quite easily, to be honest. So I think a lot of the teams will survive. You get a drive-through penalty at 20 as well. So still got plenty to think about on the way to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about having a calm, level head at this early stage of the race. There's no need to pick up the 4X, which could put you in a difficult position later on, let alone the potential damage you'll get. Look at that.
Wow.
Move all the way around the outside, using the downforce of the HPD to great effect. Confident on the brakes. He's got his tyres warmed up, I think, a little bit quicker than Mike Horder, which was why Mike was a little bit timid going into that first corner here. And Archie took full advantage, swinging around the outside, and now sees himself up into second place. Lovely move.
That was absolutely cracking. We jump back then into the battle within the GT1s. This is Arthur Thurtle right behind Guy Edwards right now in the RD SimSport machine. Jumping onto the dashboard of the Aston to listen to that V12 scream. Look at the scenery in the background as well. That gorgeous, gorgeous cloudscape. Peter Mackay, I'm afraid, has just had a little moment off the road in his LMP2. It's quite the contrast at the moment for Porsche Sport and Porsche Sport Podcast. One car leads the class, the other is down in 10th place. We do not have the Brabham Esports car with us tonight, I'm afraid. The Brabham Esports LMP2 was looking very promising, but other commitments have meant they are not able to jump into the race. There's a wobble there from Thurtle. It's going to be very easy to do that, isn't it, over the course of tonight, Ed? You can easily push these GT1 cars a bit too hard.
Yeah, and it's that area of the circuit specifically that I think could catch out some drivers at turn 6, turn 7 section going onto the banking. It's not the smoothest bit of tarmac, and there's a little bit of off-camber moments when you get towards the exit of the corner on the outside. The cars just sort of get a little bit unbalanced. There's weird bumps on that area, which is so tricky to deal with. I noticed it actually in the Daytona 24 behind the wheel of the, well, much more different car to this, the BMW LMDH. That was a tricky beast to handle, even though it had traction control. So, to be fair, all these drivers will be certainly noticing the quirks of this circuit and trying to come to grips with it as the race goes on. Got to be careful going through there, but then again, you do want to be early on the throttle because of the long, flat-out run towards the the chicane. So it's going to be certainly a cost-benefit analysis every time you're coming through that section.
It really is. The drivers have so much to think about over the course of this race. 2 hours and 19 minutes left to go in this one, and it is not going to go quickly for anybody. Apologies for the massive drop in frames just a moment ago. I've just realised that there was something trying to download in the background, because auto updates, as you all know, if you're involved in PC gaming of any kind, auto updates are the devil if you're trying to do anything. Lovely view back here from Jacob Money. He's got quite the gap behind him as well, so I think he'd agree that it's a lovely view. Tom Weston doesn't have such a gap behind him though. He's got Simon Price and then Joe Gibson for Team ORD right there with him. Team ORD at the International Horseshoe. Ryan Penny has had a moment, I'm afraid, in his BMW. He was involved in all of this. Loses the back end on the exit of the hairpin. And again, it's very easy to do that. The BMW Z4 is one of those cars that gives you this confidence to sort of really throw the back end around as if it's always going to stick, and sometimes I'm afraid it just doesn't, does it?
Sorry, I was distracted by the sound of that V8. Scott Cherry trying to chase after Draycott in the TBC Racing Blue. Hopefully I got the pronunciation right, but being British, it's very, very difficult for us to get the names done 100% right every single time. Looking at the LMP2 class though, for a lead of course, Archie Coveney now ahead of Josh Cam. So a shift in the LMP2 class, but for how long will that stay? Look at that up the inside. That was a little bit of a late lunge, but I think Dan Hundover, he got that judged perfectly, didn't cause any contact. And now Cam Dance sees an opportunity, but into the dogleg around the outside, he was always going to have to back out there.
Well, that was actually Dan McCauley getting the lead at turn 1 from Dan Handover, and then Dan getting it back with very forceful means. But look at this lot. This is the top, 6? I'd say the top 5 are all right together in GT1. Arthur Thurtle here in the All Sports Racing Machine has one hell of a view in front of him. 5 Aston Martin DBR9s all glued together. But you're absolutely right. At the very front of the field, though, Ed, there has been a change to the lead, and it's this car, the number 61, Archie Coveney for RD Simsport 4, leading now for the first time from Josh Cam of Porsche Sport. There's battles all the way through as the 2 boosted cars are right together. That is Boosted Motorsport Green chasing down Orange. Their teammate Virage is currently 3rd, but we need to go back to this because the GT1s are going to get all shuffled up now by the slipstream as out of the bus stop they go. It was a shame to see the Corvette so slow down the long parts of the circuit, and like I said before, it seems like the setup has been changed somehow, but I mean I updated the fuel on it and everything, and I didn't even change the name of it. You know, you just open a file, change something, then save it, and it's already got the file name saved down. So my apologies to those driving the Corvette if it has ruined their evening. But we have 2 of them out there tonight, both at the back. And oh, you hear what I hear there?
Bit of fuel saving.
Yeah, big bit of fuel saving, wasn't it, that? Big lift and a dump of the clutch by Dan Handover. And these guys know how important that's going to be. They'll all have their own plans and strategies in their head. It's going to be quite the key moment, the pit stops tonight.
Lovely view from the dashboard of Arthur Thurtle as we watch a huge train of Aston Martin GT1s battling away. There's a little bit of a gap emerging actually, but it quickly contracts as Chaz has a bit of a moment watching almost side-by-side action there as Cam Dance a little look at the inside of Dan McCauley, but thinks better of it, just putting his nose in places where it's not wanted and just trying to maybe throw off Dan from his rhythm.
Yeah, I think Dan just a little bit late on the brakes there, trying to push it as hard as he can. It's very easy to lock up in these GT1 cars. It's very easy to fall in love with them as well, as you can imagine. Listen to that. Fantastic sound. We're going to be telling you to listen all night, to be honest, so apologies if it does get a little bit boring, everybody, because, I mean, we've got some of the finest racing machines you've ever seen on our screens tonight. That Acura ARX-01C is a masterpiece. This Z4 GT3, when you consider the road car that this comes from, it is a masterpiece. It was a great GT car. It competed in GT2 and GT3 specifications in all forms of Le Mans series and all sorts else. We've then, of course, got the GT1 cars, which are legendary status in their own right, the Aston Martins and the Corvettes. Gary Tall is making his way back through the pack now. You can hear it sounds like a Corvette, but that's, of course, because he's got the Corvette of Heinz Meyer just behind him. Gary making his way across the line now. down in 21st position outright, 11th place in his class. But it just shows you how easy it is to still lose the back end of a car that's planted even as much as this, Ed, because it just suddenly went over that curb, didn't it? Floated sideways, and he was very lucky not to hit anything hard.
Yeah, from my memories of driving this HPD ARX, it's so easily done. Just at the opening phase of a race, to overcook it, the tyres do need a few laps to properly bed in before you can start attacking in anger. And I think that might be what we just saw, the car over a bump, then all of a sudden, as it grips back up, or rather doesn't grip back up, as the case was, slides along, realises that there's not enough heat in, and finds himself, thankfully, not having any lengthy repairs, because with barriers as close as they are at that area of the circuit, could be in for a whole world of pain when things do go wrong. As Peter Mackay, he's on a charge back up through the field now, getting a double helping of the slipstream around the outside of one. Will he be able to get around the outside of the other? Yes, he is. Look at the overspeed. That just shows how strong it is. And you think he knows it's on the broadcast, gives them a flash of the headlights.
Yeah, fantastic stuff by Peter Mackay around the outside. I think maybe he was flashing the back of Grid Racing Z4 just in front. Stuart Clark actually stayed on his line there, and then the boosted Motorsport Pink machine got boxed in. More and more flashing from Peter Mackay. I think there's more Z4s ahead of them. Go back on board with him then as we chase down. I think that is the Whiskey A Go-Go BMW, isn't it, of Gilles Gardner. He's going to be the next car that he reaches, and this is the thing, it's oh so important. Gilles makes it clear that he's going to stay wide. Lovely stuff. That's exactly what you want in traffic. Make it predictable. Some of them don't want people to go off their line, but at the same time, if they are going to do it and make it obvious, then it's much more easy to judge, isn't it, for the faster class?
Yeah, it is, and it's great to see that the drivers are still, while they have been racing in single class in the GT4 challenge, when it gets to multi-class, they keep that calm head about them and know exactly how to race in these sorts of situations. And we have a bit of a, well, I think we can call it a situation for Dan Hando and Dan McCauley, because they're still battling away with Cam Dance, Baywoods and Arthur Thurtle in tow. And it's a train of Aston Martins that seems to have no signs of stopping any moment soon, because Ben Gregory's now at the rear end of this. Top six all in one long train, and Ben's going to be able to save heaps of fuel at the back end, getting, well, what, a 5-car helping of slipstream?
Absolutely, yeah, this is the thing. This train could be very important later on. It may not be the ultimate pace for some of these guys at the back if they have to back out of any manoeuvres and not overtake the car in front, but I still think that this could be a race-changing time for some of these guys. There's going to be a number of pit stops in the race, so the fuel tanks are all limited to 75%, so they can't go the full sort of hour or so that these cars tended to back in the day. Let's have a look what happens a bit further up. You've got Cam Dance looking around the outside of Dan McCauley. Doesn't go for it yet, nearly gets in the back of him, but you can see, look how much Dan Handover is backing off there. Dan had to brake early, Cam then had to brake even earlier than that. It can be very scary when you're in the middle of a train like this, to be honest. And I know that a few of them are going to be certainly soiling their overalls in these early stages. Back at the very front of the field, Josh Cam, still ahead of Mike Horder here though. And they're making their way through the Z4 traffic now. They're the Z4 leaders, actually, that they've just gone past. Through the bus stop once more. Great drive this by Mike Horder, who, to be honest, had his first ever GT4 race in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. And he made an amazing impression there. He's doing that even more now, isn't he, in this car as well?
He certainly is, yeah. A driver who's tasted the podium a couple times last season as well. Seems to be in fine form here, on track for yet another. Of course, he will have to hand over to his teammate Sam Bentham at one stage or another in this race. And we'll then start to see how all the other drivers match up to one another, because that's the important thing. It's not just about the cars and the pilots that we're seeing at the moment. It's about the whole team effort, what they can do on the strategy. And if you are thinking about strategy, like you say, Mike Horder's in the prime position to save all of that fuel. Having a longer first stop gives you scope to have a shorter final stop, and that time is, well, it's just easily gained time, isn't it, really? Because you don't need to work hard for it, it's just done in the pit stops.
It really is. There's so many of them out there that are in great positions right now. Taylor Adams for Regenta, as there's a car off, and that was Lee Berridge. Lee Berridge in the boosted Motorsport Green machine is off the road. He comes back on but loses a bucket load of time, and there goes Peter Mackay going through. Another freebie for Peter. Let's have a look what happened here. Oh, he's already off. For some reason it didn't show. Here we go. This is what happened to Lee. That's why it didn't show him. So he's had some sort of hardware issue there, because we all know, Ed, it's not always your connection that can cause that, is it? You can have hardware that stops sending a signal out, you can have a screen freeze or something, and it can be a real pain in the backside.
Yeah, so very well recovered there from Lee Berridge, who sees himself now right tucked in behind the rear wing of Peter Mackay, Sport Podcast number 7, punching a lovely hole in the air for him. Moves on the Demon Tweaks, a lovely liveried car, isn't it? That Demon Tweaks GT3 Z4.
Very shiny wheels.
Yeah, very, very shiny actually. I don't think that was on the British GT livery. Would have added too much weight for them.
Ooh. Long slide
From
there.
home, we're going to see into the wall there, but just getting away with it.
Yeah, Peter Draycott just having that long, slow slide that cars like that can always suffer from, as right now Gareth Messam in the Orbit and Demon Tweaks machine worries about the traffic coming past. Look at the speed of these LMP2s as they get past you. They just disappear off up the road. It's amazing to see. I've actually become quite a fan of these sorts of onboard cameras, you know. I always like a roll bar camera to show the full cockpit and what the driver is doing, but in GT cars and cars that make a fantastic racket like this, I've really got to be a big fan of them on the dashboard, as I think Gareth tried to get out of the way of the LMP2 there, and there's a bit of miscommunication. Maybe a bit of miscommunication up front as well, because Jack Ashton, the class leader, has just had to jump out of the way of Stuart Clark.
Another aspect as well is obviously the changing conditions as the sun begins to set. As you're coming into that corner onto the banking, the sun is setting right in your eye line, and it's so difficult to see not just sort of where your reference markers might be at that area of the circuit, but also if there are any lap cars around you, or cars that are in a slower class just ahead of you. It's so difficult because the glaring sun blocks it out, and it adds another extra element to this race. It'll only be there for about 10-15 minutes before the sun dips below the horizon, but it's still something that drivers have to think about.
It really is. It's going to get cooler and cooler on track as well, which means that later in the race the tyres might be easier to save. There's a bit of a blink in and out there by Archie, race leader for RD Sim Sport 4. We look back now at Josh Cam and Mike Horder behind him from the RD Sim Sport machine. And again, these three all having a solid race so far and all in position to save fuel.
It all depends as well on what Niels Cora is doing just in the back there. He's in 4th place and not a mile away from being involved in this fight. If for whatever reason they get slowed down in traffic, he's going to be in the slipstream as well.
That's it. You can't be too far away from the fight really when it's this close. And it doesn't take long for these guys to catch up with each other either. We've seen them from before. I mean, nearly a second and a half back and then suddenly jumping up behind one another. Look at how much curb they're taking over the bus stop as well and actually getting away with it. That's one of the main things here, is that these cars can be so fragile. It's so easy to lose the bottom of it and just have it sort of smack against the curb. Sorry, I completely lost the word for curb there after just talking about them. But you really have to be careful with some of these older cars like this, don't you? Because they're a lot more sensitive to stuff like that.
Yeah, they're very sort of tightly strung bits of kit. And one misstep will result in, well, your demise. Sadly, it is a car that punishes mistakes very swiftly. And it's been great to see that all the drivers so far, hopefully not putting a curse of the commentator on any of them, have been able to get through unscathed and give us an excellent little battle in these opening 20 minutes. Speaking of excellent battle, I keep being drawn into the GT1 fight for the lead. That huge train of cars, Dan Handover and Dan Macaulay, first and second. I mean, there's one place that you don't want to be in. To be fair, that'd be where Cam Dance is, right in the middle of it all, especially when you go into these higher speed sections in towards the bus stop chicane. It will be a nightmare.
Fantastic sound though, isn't it, as they all scream their way across the start finish line. onto the brakes into turn 1. Now, while Dan Handover can start to break away a little bit there, he's saving so much fuel that he's just losing a big bucket load of time as he goes into turn 1. He goes round the outside of the KB racing machine. Dan McCauley now tries to go down the inside. He's right with them all again. This is one big train of cars, isn't it? Look, there's Gary Tall now. He's actually gaining places overall in this race here to get ahead of these guys again because of that big off that he had earlier on. So he's going to be flying past this lot. He's got the KB BMW in front, flies down the inside on the brakes and overdoes it, I'm afraid. Oh, there's more contact. And not Peter Jerker, it's Arthur Thurtle has gone off the road in the Aston Martin. It all got a little bit messy there. Let's try and see if we can catch up with what happened here. Oh, Arthur's just got in too hot. And it sounded like there was more went on behind there, and Arthur was the one that got punched, but I think he maybe saw where Gary was braking, took some influence from it, and went a bit deep.
Yeah, it's easy done. As soon as you see cars having moments into somewhere like the West hairpin, it can throw you off your rhythm, and I think that's exactly what we just saw as drivers just probably watching the flags rather than what's actually going on. But then again, sometimes you can't exactly see it until you're right at the scene. So thankfully no one was seriously hampered by that, and the cars are all in one piece. So we have now a lovely onboard shot on the roof of Cam Dance going in towards turn 1, and look at the slipstream, how much he's gaining as they go into first corner.
Listen.
And he could easily go for the position, but the amount that he feels like he can gain by saving the fuel is worth more than getting up into second place, it seems.
He gained a lot of, well, I say gained a lot, he saved a lot of fuel there. Like, that was a massive dump of the clutch. It was basically when he hit the start-finish line, and he was doing it all the way from back there. We go on board with Ben Gregory now. I love this. Sun setting, reflections everywhere, and muck and cack all over the windscreen, and a V12 screaming just in front of you. What more could you want? What a night we're going to have. We've still got over 2 hours of this left to go, and look at it. This is heaven on earth for car anoraks like us, and I'm really glad that we are putting this on. It's great to see that we can differentiate the GT classes between the yellow and white headlights, as it sounds like we had a car off there. Heinz Mayer in the Corvette. Oh, dearie me. Long old slide, but this is going to sound good. Well, it's always going to sound good, isn't it? Always is. This lot carrying on, though, overtaking some of the Z4s. Jack Ashton still leading that class, by the way. He's now got a 1.6 second lead over Taylor Adams of Regenta Sim Racing. He's doing a great job. It's the only class that's separated by more than a second for their lead at the moment. Tom Weston is in the pits, I'm afraid, for Scanlant Pro Driving. What's happened here? He was being lapped as... Oh, no, he's clipped the grass, and... Oh, that's a big old hit on the front left. Now, they do get 2 fast repairs in this race, but I think he's going to have to have jumped back to the pits with that one, because that's not going to be behaving itself. Wow, it's taken a humongous whack. Yeah, it's not going straight at all. I think he's going to have pulled that one over. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, Tom, take it back to the pits, mate. I think he'll have jumped back at that point, but that's the thing, you just have to be so careful in these cars, don't you? You cannot get away with anything.
No, you really can't. But speaking of what you were talking about earlier, Chaz, about being a massive car anorak, there's something that can be said about iRacing. It's the way that it's been able to preserve cars like this. I don't think there are any better versions of these machinery online anywhere. Laser scanned all down to the minutest detail, all of these suspension settings referring to what they would be in real life, the way the cars handle, the way they race, the way they sound. It's all as close to the real thing as is possible to have in this day and age. And I have to say, it is wonderful that even though they can't or don't really race in any official capacity in anger anymore, it is great to have the opportunity in sim to give machines like this their time in the spotlight yet again. Even though it is virtual, it is great to see things like this. The Z4 GT3, like you mentioned, the work that BMW did to get this GT3 car to the levels it did, based on the machinery that it was before it had all the additions put onto it, it does boggle the mind, and it's a wonderful beast to be on board with.
Great car indeed. we look back at two of the fanciest liveries on the grid, the All Sports Racing Machine and TBC Racing Blue. Peter Yerker going past on the right-hand side after his earlier spin. They've got a Z4 just in front of them, which is the RD Simsport 2 machine, Christopher Smith. Christopher's been a genius in big black BMWs during the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge season. He's been racing the M4 GT4, and now he's in the Z4 GT3 and trying to get out of the way of these Aston Martins as efficiently as possible. We were looking a little bit further down the order a moment ago at some of the other Z4s. They have spread out quite a bit here, actually. We have a look at how the field is. You can see there's a lot of them on the infield and not really anything on the oval at the moment. It's quite funny how all the classes have merged together like that on a certain part of the track. But Joe Gibson currently 9th in his class at the moment in the Z4s. As, good stuff. Tom Weston back out of the pits now onto the circuit. Oh, straight into contact there with, I think that was that Ryan Penny in the back of Grid Racing Machine. I think Tom expected him to have been completely through by there. Now, that was Peter Mackay in the Porsche Sport podcast car going past Monsieur Penny. I love this. That car suits that livery so much. It looks so fantastic. Really, he's chasing down John Roberts, though.
I was going to say as well, look at this up the inside. Lovely little move there. Smart driving by the pair of them. Very cooperative from the BMW to not get involved, to not turn in. Because Peter was very clear with his intentions. He was coming up the inside one way or another. Oh my word, what is going on here?
That's
a
leaders.
Huge kerfuffle, and that is the leaders. All of a sudden, the second and third place, all the way down the order now. Porsche Sport. What has happened here to Josh Cam going through the bus stop? Mike Corder as well involved in the incident. That's given Archie Coveney a massive gap now in the lead of the LMP2 class. This is a replay, so it's Coveney going up the inside, and that just throws Scott Charrington off his rhythm. Oh, dearie me.
Oh, my word.
That's heartbreaking stuff.
And you can see they all scramble to try and get going as quickly as they can. It just ends up in more contact. Oh, man. Well, Charrington had Coveney coming up behind him. Coveney went through, and then Charrington, I don't think he expected him to come from that far back, and he just couldn't get it stopped. He tried to get it out of the way, but man, that is devastating. Absolutely devastating. The cars are in the pits now. Josh Cam sat there in the pit lane, hopefully getting the car repaired. They do have a fast repair available. Don't think he jumped to the pits, did he? Scott Charrington did, but Josh Cam has decided that he's going to either take a fast repair or something. Oh no, he's got it going again. Good stuff. Good stuff. Gets it back out there. Calvin saying that he thinks the leader of the prototypes is at fault for that one. I'm not sure, because he had every right to go for it. It was late, but it was on the Corvette not getting it stopped or not reacting. I don't know. You can't expect him to react at that moment. I know. It's an intriguing one, that. But again, that's part and parcel of multi-class racing. Is hello, Ben Gregory.
Oh, I love this. Ben is just saying, you know what, stuff this. If you want to save your fuel, fine by me, but we're losing too much time. I'm going to go for this. That was a lovely little move.
What was that?
The team living up to its name, Ben Gregory, with a sumptuous little overtake. 2 in 1. Look at the speed. That just shows how much they are losing, how much time they are essentially giving away by saving in towards the first corner. And it's like, you know what? I don't want any part of this. Clear it off. You save your fuel. I've got a race to try and win.
Epic stuff. These GT1 cars have been so entertaining so far, and this is the top 5 for the lead in their class. This is epic stuff. Really, really epic stuff. Amazing send. Absolutely amazing send. But yeah, as Calvin has said, that does them a massive favour at Brabham Esports, because now Dan Handover can save fuel. He wasn't saving fuel earlier on. Something's happened here as Robert Moran has got off the road. Oh, don't think there was much communication going on there between him and the Chicane Online Racing entry just behind. But yeah, that was really gutsy stuff from Ben Gregory. That's the sort of stuff you love to see. Love to see that, a big old set. And when everyone's trying to be all conservative and hold back, it's great to see that one driver that doesn't give one and just throws it at the inside. Love it. Right.
If it was going to be any driver, it was going to be Ben as well, wasn't it? If there was any driver to try that, it had to be Ben Gregory, and I'm so glad it came off cleanly, because that was a lovely little dive up the inside. The speed he took as well was just sublime.
We look back now from the boosted motorsport green car of Lee Berridge. That is Peter Mackay just behind us. Peter has actually gained 2 places from where he started in this one, so he's going well. Seemed like he dropped down a little bit in the opening stages, but now he's right back in the fray. And listen, you can hear the Z4 that's going to be going backwards past us as we come on to the banking, and they're across the start-finish line now through the tri-oval. Big old slipstream for Peter Mackay. That means there's 2 boosted cars inside the top 4 now. John Barnes in 4th in boosted motorsport orange. It was the Virage car that's actually still with Josh Cam effectively. But again, they're going to both be devastated about that incident earlier on. But unfortunately, what's done is done now, and it's all about recovering. I know Porsche Sport said game over, but you never know in these races, do you, Ed? That's the thing. You've got to just charge on and see what you can make of it.
Yeah, and I've been trying to work it out. I think the final pit stop might be around about 25 or so minutes. So they've essentially done their final pit stop at the start of the race. They will probably take the same amount of pit stops as they were expecting to. They've just obviously been forced into what could be a slightly suboptimal strategy, but one that could still get them a race win.
That's the thing. It can all work out in the end. And just having a little look down now to see if there's anyone making any big moves. There's the usual drafting going on in the Aston Martins. Let's go on board with Dan McCauley and listen to what he does here, because he's going to have Cam Dance on his right. Cam's backed out. Boy, oh boy. That's not optimal pace into there at all, is it? Really is not optimal pace into there.
Isn't they are saving a whole chunk of fuel just to try and make a strategy they are trying to make work. Well, but it's going to be difficult to see at this stage. Just look at the speed difference there between the HPD and the GT3, the Z4. That was ridiculous stuff.
We've got GT1's pitting here. Mattis Niger is getting in the TBC Racing blue car. Robert Moron is still in the red machine, and Rob Sutherland is also in RD Simsport 3. Let's go on board with Rob and, well, witness the peace and quiet you get on the Aston Martin when it's not at full chat. Just see what Rob does here with his pit stop. Is he going to take tyres? I doubt it. He's just taking fuel. And then he's going to get going again, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he's building up the revs, getting it ready to move. Doesn't look like tyres from any of them. Russell Clark is getting into the Rusty's Roast racing machine. That's up for tyres as well. So now the first round of pit stops is beginning here, Ed, and this is where it's going to start getting busy now. Just over half an hour. So we're going to have quite a few stops here. I think most of the teams expect to do about 5 stints, don't they, in this? And it's not going to be a full stint at the end. It's going to be about 75% of one, as here they come into the pits then. Who's practiced their entry, who hasn't? Ben Gregory and Dan Handover very close together on the way into the pits. That could almost be dangerous. Now they all pile on into their necessary pit boxes. This could be tense.
RD Sims brought into the pits as well from the lead of the race. Yeah. RG Coveney, Niels Core making their respective stops as well. So plenty of action in the pit lane here at Daytona as the cars are making their first scheduled stops of the race. And to be fair, that is good news for Porsche Sport, who were forced into their early pit stop, but only by 2 or 3 laps. So it's not the end of the world for them. There is a way back into the race for Josh, Cam and Co. As look at this coming out of the pits. You can see now it's nose to tail between RD Simsport and Dan Handover, who's been able to leapfrog Ben Gregory. Yes, he has in the pits. So he was able to gain one position, but look at that. There's no time really gained at all. They're going to be stuck nose to tail yet again. The slipstream train of GT1s will continue for, well, another half hour at least.
Yeah, absolutely will. Just there as well, we had Danny Jones in the Orris Racing Corvette in the thick of it as well. He's a lap down on these boys. Oh no! He tries to get out of the way. I don't know why he was going that slow before they even got to the corner though. That's not going to go down well at all. Ben Gregory now, I think he's pushing a little bit too hard in response to that. That was very, very scary indeed. That's not going to go down well at all though, is it? One of those moments, I'm afraid. Danny obviously wanting to back out and get out of the way, but which didn't work for him. Paul Goffin in the Sim Racing Magazine Racing Team LMP2, just making his way back out of the box.
And Dan's in the pits as well. He was able to go another lap.
He was, yeah. Now, don't forget, he was sat behind all these guys for the entirety of that stint. So I'm excited to see where he can manage to get out of this. Let's have a look, because this is where Dan Handover is now. Pit stops, these guys are about 26, 27 seconds. Cam Dance is about 16 now, so he's got about 10 seconds left before he needs to get moving. But Dan Handover has got a handy, get it, 2.2 second lead over his namesake, Dan McCauley. So it's definitely worked out for them there. This is hopefully going to work out. All three classes together on circuit at once. Now Cam Dance is on his way out of the pit lane, but don't forget they've got to go so slowly around here.
There's Dan Handover just at the background of the shot, and as he comes out of the pit lane, it's going to be close, but I think he's going to slot in just behind the Brabham Esports GT1, but bridge the gap importantly between himself and Apex Racing Academy. So there is a way back in. There will be slipstream for Dan McCauley to gain back up to the rear end of Dan Handover.
Peter Mackay just coming out of the pits now. Headlights ablaze on all of the cars, so we're getting into the darkness here after the first round of pit stops. The light will continue to fade. And we've not had any pit stops in the Z4s yet, really. We've had, no, that's Danny Jones, actually, that's showing up as pitting on our timing screens. And he's, of course, in the GT1s. So no Z4s in the pits as of just yet. But Jack Ashton continues to lead the way in this class. It's got a massive 115-litre fuel tank as this BMW Z4. So even on 75% fuel, it can go a mighty long way. Love the livery on the Fordzilla machine as well. It looks really good. Gareth Messam just holding on ahead of Taylor Adams. Only half a second between these two for second and third in their class. And it's Jacob Money for Positively Racing DJ. He's got 9 seconds then over Christopher Smith. So it's quite spread out in the BMWs. Danny Jones is making his way back through the pack in the absolute thunderstorm that is the Corvette. And it looks to me like I think Scott Cherrington is out of the race, I'm afraid. Looks like Scott has called it a day. I don't think with the setup being as it was for them, I don't think it's been playing ball, unfortunately. And it's showing that they are out of the race. So we're down to the one Corvette. And Porsche Sport Podcast, apparently, with Peter Mackay at the wheel, got 22 laps out of that stint, and it was the only one to do so. So apparently the strategy, according to Ryan Parkins, is wide open here, Ed, and that's what we love to hear. Cheers for the update, Ryan.
Really good info coming through there. And yeah, say Peter Mackay, he's really putting on a charge. Got Lee Berridge for company as they carve their way through the traffic. And it is always handy to be close behind a car in the same class as you when you're trying to carve through the traffic, because if they make a mistake, that's fine. You'll just go through the cloud of smoke and hopefully be unscathed. And if they get it right, well, you can just slot in behind and gain the position as well. You don't really have to do a whole lot of work to overtake the cars in slower classes if you are in, say, Peter Mackay's position. So it's always helpful, but of course, what isn't helpful is if a car is off the circuit and trying to rejoin just in front of you, as Robert Moron is well, slightly struggling there. And I think it's just the case of that western hairpin. Again, I think just catching drivers out, you're carrying a lot of speed through the dogleg. And it's easily done, you know.
This is Russell Clark having a big old moment into the International Horseshoe. And, oh, it's beached. I did wonder why he jumped back to the pits, and it's been beached. Oh, man. And he's back out on track after being in the pits, but he's been in the pits for a while, and he's down in 20th place overall now. Bottom of the LMP2s. Gary Toll has made his way back up the pack into, well, 10th place in class, 10th place overall. And he is currently 34 seconds behind Paul Goffin in the SRM Racing Team machine. And John Roberts says that they were half a pint short, apparently, in the pit stop. That's Lee Berridge in the Boosting Motorsport Green entry. Teammates with John. Now you've got GT1s, GT3s and LMP2s all together here. As Lee gives a bit of a flash to Rob Sutherland. What can Peter Mackay do about coming through? He's going to go down the inside as well now. He's having a great time of it through the traffic here, is Peter, isn't he? Like you said, Ed, He's just able to carry on and follow Lee Berridge through all of this. Easy pickings for Mr. Mackay at the moment.
Yeah, he's got to be loving life. Not only has he got help from, well, a rival competitor in Lee Berridge, but he's also behind the wheel of probably one of the most fun vehicles to drive out on the circuit right now. This HPD, like you were saying earlier, Chaz, it does seem to almost glide through some of the corners, a little bit slidey at times, four-wheel drifting moments, but it is a real riot, especially at these high downforce sections where you need to use all of the car's sort of veins and tunnels and channels and winglets just to power through the corner. So now as well, Taylor Adams right in behind Gareth Mestrom, who, well, is really feeling the pressure for certain.
Now Z4's coming into the pits. Interesting. Let's see what their entrances are like. I don't like running over that white line on the left-hand side, you know. I don't like that. But right now, Peter Mackay doing a great job, as we saw a moment ago. And the leader in the GT1s is doing a great job. There's the leader in the GT3s. Oh, no, Taylor Adams overshot his box. You can just hear when a Corvette goes flying past. It's the loudest thing out there by a mile. Let's have a look at some close battles, though, because the second place battle in GT1s has changed. Cam Dance has overtaken Dan McCauley. And right now, sorry, no, he's not. He came out of the pits ahead of him. It's Dan McCauley who's actually dropped Ben Gregory, is what's happened. And now the Apex Racing Academy machine is close up behind Orbit Motorsport. And this is him in a good place now because he can save fuel, which is also important. But Dan Handover's broken the slipstream and he's got away here. That fuel saving early on, which to be honest he barely did any of because he led most of the pack. It's just put on an absolute belter of a stint.
Really has. He's been far away for the drivers to watch here at that Brabham Esports GT1 car. It's a lovely car to watch as well. That paint job on there, I'd fall in love with it the more and more I see it. That dark green on an Aston Martin. I said it before and I'll say it again. It just does something to you, doesn't it? It looks perfect on that machine.
Really does.
Oh.
Now, Porsche Sport in the chat have said, Only Endurance in the chat, saying Peter Mackay is the definition of get you a man that can do both. And I was only speaking to Luke Holroyd of Porsche Sport earlier today, saying that, you know, Peter's pace in that car has been phenomenal. And he's always told me that he loved it. As soon as we mentioned that this event was going on, he was like, yeah, get me in that HPD. And it's often, Ed, that we always say that we're commentators because we're not fantastic drivers. You know, that's always a bit of a theme of why people become commentators. But Peter literally is the guy that can do both, isn't he? He's having a fantastic time.
Yeah, I mean, even before we actually announced that we were doing this, it was in the fallout from the rock around a bit of the clock at Lime Rock, the first SRM, what we call a special event, taking place late last year. He was well up for anything involving the HPD, wasn't he, Chaz? We were having a bit of a chat to him after the mics went cold and we could just talk to the drivers after the race to digest all of the occurrences that happened, shall we say. And to be fair, he was well up for it then. He's seemingly more than well up for it now. He's putting on a real good display. Recovery drive, which I know he wouldn't have been looking forward to doing, but he's certainly enjoying it in the here and now, and I'm really enjoying all of the action that we've been seeing so far here tonight. Intrigued to see how the GT1 battle will shake up, as obviously, like we said, Dan Handover has built up a margin, but will the traffic play a part? Can Cam Dance and Dan McCauley close up? Plenty of question marks that will be answered later on, I'm certain, as we just see Niels Core, oh blimey, just chucking it far too hard, but
that was second place overall.
Getting away with it there.
That was second place overall in the race, that he's just given up to Josh Cam, who comes swooping around and says thank you very much. So Josh Cam, even after that incident before, finds himself back in second place. Now, they're obviously going to be slightly out of sync with the pit stops, but that's only going to make things more interesting. Look at the lighting here now, though, Ed. The lights are shining, the sun is setting, the clouds look fantastic. This is true golden hour now at Daytona. And we've still got an hour and 40 minutes left of this race. Not even an hour in yet. 2 hours and 25 is the full race distance. So we're only 15 minutes away from hitting that magical 1 hour mark. But still, a lot more work to do for these drivers. Let's have a bit of a recap then. Archie Coveney and RD Sim Sport 4 lead the way outright in this race at the moment for LMP2. Josh Cam and his teammate second overall in Porsche Sport. Slightly out of sync though, about 4 laps early on their pit stop due to damage. Nils Kaur, who we just saw a moment ago, went off the road and is now third for Chicane Online Racing Blue. We look then down into the GT1s, and it's Brabham Esports GT1, Dan Handover, another man that can do just about anything as well, actually. He's a driver coach, he's a very good driver and a commentator and broadcaster. He leads it for Brabham Esports. Then we've got Orbit Motorsport Jupiter and Apex Racing Academy scrapping over second and third place. Drivers that have all done well in any leagues that I've hosted, really. Dan McCauley, Lewis Ward, Cam Dance as well. Cam's teammate for this event is now Ethan Bass after a last minute change, because unfortunately one of their drivers has had technical issues. And then in the GT3s, Ed, well, Jack Ashton doing a belting job for Team Fordzilla, and he's got about 4.7 seconds at the moment over the competition behind.
Yeah, really nice performance here. Like you say, it's going slightly under the radar because the GT3s have been really dominated by Team Fordzilla at this early phase of the race. But I'm excited to see this little scrap go ahead. Taylor Adams is trying to look at the inside of the Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks entry. Just nowhere through yet, and trying to go for the line that I prefer, going tight on the exit because it's a lot smoother, a lot less bumpy, so you can put the power down a bit earlier as well. That seems to work out nicely for the 42, who in the slipstream is gaining hand over fist. But is he going to go for the move, or is he fancying a bit of fuel saving? No, he is fully going for this move now, side by side, down the backstretch in towards the bus stop. Who yields? Well, it is the 33. Daniel Taylor sliding back into third place. Taylor Adams, he's not going to think twice. He's going to snatch that up and get up into second place and see if he can now close up the gap to Jack Ashton in the lead of the GT3 class.
Beautiful stuff, that. Really nice by Taylor Adams. Great respect by Daniel Taylor as well. He says, I'm not going to push it too hard to try and get back in front. He might even just fuel save here. Look at the LMP2 coming up behind. That's just silly, isn't it? That is absolutely silly. That was Josh Cam going through on the right-hand side for Porsche Sport. Apparently, the Porsche Sport Discord right now, the chat is about Lotus Exceeds traction control and the price of fuel, and it's a great topic because with the amount that Peter Mackay is saving at the moment, it's certainly a positive look on things. Jakub Szymanski here in the Spontex CDM Esports GT3 car, my own team. Love seeing this car out there. I think it looks very, very tasty, but of course I'm very biased. And Jakub and his teammate Simon have become good friends over on iRacing. They've done a lot to help me and to run the brand as well. And they're running the Z4 at the moment, 9th in class, but 3 places gained on where they started. We've got Peter Brill out there in the Whiskey A Go-Go machine as well. Peter in car number 718 with his teammate for this one, Gilles Gardner. He's just moving aside to the other Spontex car that's in the race, the currently recovering Gary Tall. After his big moment in the early stages, he's going to be handing over to the most winningest driver in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, Ed. Simon Povey is going to be jumping in that car a little bit later. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, exactly. So when you think of Sim Race Magazine, for me, you always think of Simon Povey, the things he's been able to do in the GT4 Challenge has been remarkable, really. And it's going to be great to see him out on the circuit for another turn in these special events. We've got a battle there. Robert Moran and Rob Sutherland there squabbling away. Great place in class. Just love the sound of the car on the downshift as well. I keep harping on about it. I love the Aston Martin so much. It's a wonderful car to drive. Beautiful sounding bit of kit. Especially when you have a gaggle of them all together, like we had at the start of the race. You had to almost shout over them to be heard. They were so noisy, but it's stuff like that I absolutely love. The raw sounds of motorsport as well as the beautiful sights. You can see the headlights there gleaming away as the sun is now well and truly below the horizon. You get that lovely orange haze in the sky before soon it'll become dark, and then the picture will be dominated by the floodlit banking here at Daytona. Side by side, lovely picture that, isn't it? Pink and the blue battling away, and it is Rob Sutherland now getting one over on Robert. These two, they've been battling away pretty much from the word go, haven't they?
They have indeed. It's Rob and Rob, the Czech driver against the British driver. Sutherland now ahead, but for how long as the TBC Racing Red Machine makes its way around NASCAR 3 and 4. You'll see the LMP2 fly past on the right-hand side. That is the Sponsex CDM Esports LMP2 entry. But look, the top speed isn't actually that different between these. But look at that slipstream for Robert. It is monumental. And that, again, just shows you how much fuel they could save, how much time they could be losing by backing out as well. The two of them once again side by side into turn 1. Doesn't quite work for them. And they managed to make it back through. A little bit further up, Lee Berridge is only just ahead of Peter Mackay in the Porsche Sport podcast entry. Peter flying, Jack Ashton there giving his friends a bit of a flash as he continues to lead in the GT3s. And yes, Martin Kenyon in the chat saying golden hour at Daytona. Beautiful. Look at it, Ed. These are perfect conditions now. The headlights are just about bright enough to light up the road. The sky has still got that orange tint to it. It's orange and purple with the gorgeous glow in the sky at the bottom of the clouds. But also at the same time, all the floodlighting's working as well as Peter Mackay goes down the inside of the ORD car. Oh, a little bit scrappy. It was gutsy, but I'm not sure that's going to go down well with Boosted Motorsport Green. They're side by side out the horseshoe, and no, Lee Berridge is not in your life, mate. I'm not going to let you get away with that one. As Peter now showing ultimate confidence in this car, though, and it's great to see. When he's done events before, he's knocked himself as being the one that lets the team down, but definitely not in this case. Unfortunately, Danny Jones has had a problem in the Corvette. I think this is part and parcel to the drivers having struggles with the setup. He gets going again, and he has carried on and is still going, but I understand any frustrations from them at this point. Unfortunately, we've lost another car from the race. The Series 1 Racing BMW Z4 seems to have disappeared into the ether. I'm not quite sure where it's gone. There's a big check up there actually going through the chicane as the Rusty's Roasts racing car had to wait for the BMW to get out of the way. Change further up though. Mike Horder coming back through to overtake Niles Core. It's just non-stop changes there. This is excellent.
Yeah, it's all go here, and look at that, the fastest lap of the race thus far by the car that's just had a nose ahead into third place, but Niels Core takes that back. Excellent little scrap, but Mike Horder, he is on a real charge now, setting that lap time and trying to close down to the pack up in front. Having a look through as well, the lap time is being set by all the cars out on the circuit, and Josh Cam chipping away at that gap, you know, and certainly a little bit quicker than Archie Coveney at the moment in clear air, but of course he's got a 10-second advantage. He can afford to give a couple of tenths up here and there. It's if it becomes a habit that we might start to see some alarm bells being raised over at RD Simsport. So for now, they're comfortable up in the lead with their 10-second advantage, but again, over the next 1.5 hours that remain in this race, they can't afford to get too complacent.
I've heard that I've just had a message off Drew Fletcher, who was the other driver in the Series 1 entry, and he said that when Andy Shepherd came into the pits, they didn't realise that the pits were in a different place for the race from where they were located in qualifying. He couldn't see anything on his screen, and Andy was expecting it at the end of the pit lane, and unfortunately it's disqualified from them from the race. I don't know, never heard of it doing that, but you know what iRacing can be like. It can disqualify you for the strangest of things sometimes, can't it? This is still going on, by the way, Ed. It's two taking lumps out of each other. It's great entertainment, though, isn't it? Rob and Rob.
These two, I mean, they're brilliant entertainment to watch, aren't they, now coming into the International Horseshoe. Both of them essentially copying each other there. If one runs wide, the other one does exactly the same. They're so in each other's heads that they can't manage to, you know, keep it on the circuit around one another. This is brilliant stuff, though. When you do get in a battle as a racing driver and you are so focused on the car in front, it is easily done. As now in behind as well, they do need to worry about Porsche Sport cars coming through. Will that to be Josh Cam making up one position and looking to make up another. Should be easy onto the banking now. Rob Sutherland, he's got a bit more of a comfortable buffer now thanks to that little moment.
He definitely has. Word coming from Jacob Money in the Discord saying that he wants to apologise to everybody because his push to talk for Discord and his headlight button was the same for his stint. He says, I've now fixed that for when I get back in the car later. So the Positively Racing DJ machine was flashing just about everyone who went near every time Jacob spoke, not knowing that his push to talk originally was his headlight flash. Great looking car though, to be fair. I don't think I'd mind having it flash at me, but I've had more confirmation from Drew that yes, Andy, just as we all would, reversed back down the pit lane to get to his box, but the sim disqualified him for that. So I'm afraid Jack Styles has hit the nail on the head, so too has Andy Fox in the chat. But we send our condolences for that one, boys, and our best wishes. Really sorry that the race has gone that way for you. We know that a lot of prep goes into events like this, doesn't it? Especially with team racing. It's not just the one driver that's involved in the entire process. A lot more goes into it, isn't there, Ed? And it seems like it wouldn't be that much different on the surface for anyone that hasn't done an event like this before. But so much thought and so much planning goes into this, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. The amount of effort that drivers go, even though it is obviously what was a fun sort of special event, no real prizes or anything on the board at all, but the drivers still want to do the very best they can and to race as hard as possible while out there. Do get plenty of preparation going into these events beforehand. It's a shame, obviously, to see drivers just making one minor miscalculation, a misstep, and all of a sudden find themselves out of the running. But if it is any comfort to them, this won't be the only SRM special event we'll be doing this year. There are others in the pipeline, and of course, I believe another season of the SRM GT4 Challenge is in the works for later on in the year. So
if I can be bothered,
other opportunities to get in if Chaz can pull his finger out and get around to it.
There absolutely will be. I mean, Andy and I have been talking dates. There was originally a plan for another season of the CDM Formula 1 World Championship as well, and the Chaz Draycott Media British Boring Car Championship will be making a return. But due to calendar clashes with those, the new dates will be released for that, and there will be a change again that will help bring the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge further forward in the year. You'll be happy to know. So we will be doing that sooner than you think. But yes, as Ed has rightly said there will be more special events throughout the year, one of which we've actually had in the pipeline for more than 18 months, I think it's safe to say, Ed.
Oh, yeah.
Which we will not mention yet. There's a warning.
Yeah,
but Ed and I came up with an idea about 18 months ago to do something last summer under the Sim Racing Magazine bracket, and we just never got round to it, I'm afraid, and hopefully we can do it this year, because it's a very specific event that we need to do at the right time. Russell Clark has just been off the road, and that's the exit of turn 1. Doesn't want to be sat there. He's just trying to get the car back into a more profitable position. Just catches the front left on the wall as the RD car now has to go around him as well. Manages to recover. But yes, we've got British Boring Cars for life, says Andy Fox. Calvin Dent saying he's got to come back and defend his independent title. Yes, absolutely. Martin Kenyon shouting Formula 1 as well. It's certainly been a well-received treat as the return of Formula 1. And Boring Cars as well. Come to think of it, the last time we did a Boring Car season was the end of 2020. It finished in December 2020. Can you believe that? With David Addison commentating on the... Actually, no, he didn't commentate on Season 2, I think. I think he did maybe one round, but he did a couple of rounds in Season 1. Anyway, the light is definitely fading here, Ed, but my goodness me, does it look fantastic. You've got the sort of light yellow tint from the Aston Martin DBR9s here, and we would have from the Corvettes as well. And you've got the shine from all of the spotlights around this circuit as well, all on the fence. We'll have the Ferris wheel up on the right-hand side as well. You can just see it over to the right of shot. You'll see it now as Robert Moron goes around the International Horseshoe. All the floodlighting as well. It looks absolutely mega, does it not? This is epic.
Oh, I've just got a big stupid grin on my face now. I'm glad we don't have the webcams on, because I'm just grinning ear to ear, just seeing these two yet again battling away. We saw them swap positions on the way in towards turn 1, and we'll probably see them swap positions again before the end of the lap, because, well, Robert Moron and Rob Sutherland again nose to tail. These two, I mean, they are a real treat to watch, and two cars that look absolutely stunning, you've got to say. They've got a lovely accompaniment as well to the chorus of GT1 sound, that lovely Orris Racing 222 Corvette, the soundtrack to many an old year of motorsport. I say old, it was in the 90s and 2000s, so not really old, but old for me. Probably not for you, Chaz.
Oh, straight on. Straight on Rob Sutherland has gone. I don't think he expected the LMP2 car to come down the inside there. Let's have a look. Actually, on this camera, you can see the LMP2 goes down the inside. Or I think Rob maybe just snatched a break there. Didn't want to spin the rear of the car around, and unfortunately for him, ends up off the road. But fortunately for him, there is no cars nearby to collect him with that little off. But yes, we will go back to Danny Jones. I mean, just listen to how loud the thing is. You've got the amazing sound of the Aston Martin. It's a shame we don't have more of the Corvettes. It just wasn't the favoured car with the balance of performance between these two. But, I mean...
just the way it picks up, it's disgusting. We'll air it out of the International Horseshoe here.
Sounds like it's redlining at about 1 RPM. Revs
like
so
the low
low.
rumble, as soon as it picks up with a low rumble, then all of a sudden just explodes into noise.
And it's all the pops and crackles on the downshifts as well. But the thing is with the Corvette, it sounds heavy, doesn't it? It sounds big. You know, it doesn't sound like a nimble, high-pitched V12 like the Aston. But oh, it doesn't look it either when Danny Jones does that with it. It's not a well-behaved pig, is the Corvette, unfortunately. And as mentioned earlier on, I think there may be some sort of discrepancies with setup, which I will completely hold my hand up to if there is such a problem. But still, the race continues on, I'm afraid. Niles Corr, third place at the moment for Chicane Online Racing Blue, as Josh Cam comes into the pits. Now, let's not forget, he is out of this sort of synchronisation with the other pit stops. So maybe he can potentially benefit from this.
Could do. Just having a look as well. He did gain a little bit on the previous laps there. Just seeing the lap times that came through. I mean, Archie Coveney did a 36.97. Must have had traffic at some stage, because the lap before that, Josh Cam was doing a 35.8. Very similar to the lap time set by Niels Corr. So, teams that RD Sim Sport probably didn't have the clearest running as... Oh my word, that was a very loud rumble of a V8 there.
Made a hell of a racket, didn't it?
It's beautiful though, isn't it? It's the different sounds of car that we have on display that you don't hear anymore, not just in real life, but also in the sim as well. You don't hear a sound like that V8 anymore, and it is a real treat to be able to showcase it for you here in this Daytona Classic. Great that we can obviously have our partners on board, Orris Digital, that put a lot in to make this happen. Huge shout out to them, because it has been a brilliant event so far. And we do approach now, Chaz, the halfway mark in around about 10 minutes time.
Yeah, we're nearly there. Can't believe how quickly it's come around, to be honest with you. It's been great entertainment so far. Jack Ashton and Team Fordzilla have had what looks like an easy ride at the front of the GT3s, but as you see and hear there's a lot of fuel saving going on, isn't there? And right now, it's looking very good for them with this 7-second lead that they've got, as Matas Niger is off, and oh, there's big damage to the right hand side of that car there, Ed. He's clearly hit something.
Just hope it wasn't his sparring partner in... As you know, it wasn't. Oh my word, there's a lot of damage there, isn't it?
Yeah, he needs to
not
park
go in
that.
a straight line. He needs to just pull over, I think.
Oh, Matas, please.
It's going to be a hazard for several other cars, and I think
he needs to park that. He needs to really park that. He doesn't want to drag that all the way back.
No.
I know the drivers will argue it's better than towing it back, but when it won't stay in a straight line like that and he's trying to get it home at that speed, that is
on the banking, it's going to be horrendous.
That's not fair to the other drivers, is it? I mean, he nearly got in the way of Niles Corr in the LMP2. Let's see what happens here. That's the ORD car. No, you need to park that, please, Matas. Please. Because it's just going to spin. He's at least got it down to the apron, which seems to have helped things slightly, but... that's going to... Well, I'll say it's going to go to...
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was not cool. Not cool, I'm afraid. I don't want to look at that anymore. Cam Dance has still got Dan McCauley all over the back of him here in the Aston Martin. Great stuff, as these two have been stuck together throughout the entire race. As Cam goes a little bit deep. Now look at the lighting. Flipping heck, it's evolved, doesn't it, Ed? It changes so quickly here at Daytona, but that's why we love it. We are into the second half of the race, though. And, I mean, look at how it lights up the grandstands and the fences and everything, and with all the muck on the windscreen as well. I know one boy that would love to see this right now. My mate Tom Jacobs would absolutely poo his pants.
More than probably just that, to be fair, at what we're seeing here. It's beautiful, isn't it? Dan Macaulay and Cam Dance. Nose to tail, they've been scrapping away for this, well, the last hour, really, to be fair. From the dropping of the green flag till now, they have been properly close together. It's going to be interesting to see how the race evolves as Brabham Esports GT1 into the pits come the class leaders. Will Cam Dance and Dan Macaulay follow him in, or will they have saved enough fuel to go for one extra tour of the Daytona road course? I think they might have just done, is stopping in the pit box. Dan Handover going past. Yes, Orbit Motorsport Jupiter and Apex Racing Academy have saved enough fuel to go that little while longer. Halfway point of this race, Chaz, is fast approaching. Do you think that they might be able to get away with not needing a splash and dash?
I don't know, I think you're right. I think that they might be able to get away. Apparently, I was just going to have a look, though, Ed, at Peter Mackay's car, because apparently his light flasher wouldn't turn off, but now he's clearly sorted the issue. But flashing lights are definitely the theme of the evening. Here's the two boosted cars together, Boosted Motorsport Orange and Boosted Motorsport Green. They've then got Pink and Virage also in the LMP2 category. But right now, for the GT1 class lead, temporarily that is, based on how they get on the pit stops, it is Dan Macaulay and Cam Dance. Matthias Niger, you'd be glad to know, has got the car fixed and back out on the circuit, but I want to have a look at exactly what happened to him, because he clearly had quite the incident. There was an incident for Lee Berridge as well, and Russell Clark, actually, in the same moment. This was what we saw before from Russell Clark, actually. Lee Berridge, had a separate incident. Just into the hairpin. Oh, he nearly caught it. Does a complete 360 on the grass, nice and tasty. Szymanski had his own problem, and it's not related to Taylor. Oh, he just clips the grass with the right rear. That is very easy to do. And this was Matthias Niger's problem. It's gone. Race leader there with him. Oh, goodness me. So it is a good thing we went and looked back at that, because that is the damage that it did to the Aston Martin and somehow did not do to Archie Coveney's RD SimSport LMP2. Wow.
Yeah, there has to be a bit of netcode involved there. We'll have a look from the perspective of Archie Coveney, because his car seemed to be perfectly fine going through there.
Yeah. Looks
all of a sudden,
right.
There was a huge overreaction from the Aston Martin that, to be fair, it didn't look like there was a lot of contact being made, but
no.
It still affected the car in a dramatic way. Archie Coveney, I think, has gotten away with that, to be fair.
Definitely.
Very fortunate indeed.
Yeah, he really has gotten away with that one. He'll be very grateful for that. On board now as we go into the darkness, Lee Berridge in the Boosted Motorsport Green LMP2, chasing down his stablemate in the Boosted Motorsport Orange machine, who goes into the pits. Lee Berridge giving a flash to the Z4, who flashes back for some reason. Goes around the outside now. And we have more pit stops being completed right now. Well, say more pit stops. There's one pit stop being completed. Jake Cranstone has had a problem. Jake has been tipped as one of the absolute wonders to watch in this. He's gone way too hot into the bus stop. And in that same moment, Peter Brill has had a spin at the bus stop. Gets going again, though, in the Whiskey A Go-Go car. Whoa, goodness me. Wow. That was very, very close indeed. David Fuller getting in the Boosted Motorsport Orange car, and Sean Gardner getting in the pink. Cam Dance into the pits. Where's Dan Macaulay gone? Oh, Lewis Ward has already got into the Apex Racing Academy Aston Martin. I missed that, apologies. But yeah, this race is definitely getting spread out now. In terms of where the cars are on track, you can see it is also getting a little bit more spread.
Looks well, actually. It's closed down in GT1. Brabham Esports GT1 don't have the same advantage that they used to have, as Team Overtake have closed that gap down.
They have, yeah. Ben Gregory.
Pit stop wizardry, but it seems like I think Ben Gregory has not taken tyres.
Well, Ben Gregory was stationary for 11.4 seconds in his last stop, whereas Stephen McDonald in the Brabham Esports GT1 machine, 31 seconds. Maybe that's the difference between driver changes. Not sure, because it doesn't add that much more on, does it, really, doing the driver change?
Not really. It has closed down quite considerably. That's all down to Stephen McDonald to try and bend the advantage. The hard work done by Dan Handover earlier on in the race.
There's been a big change between these as well, actually.
Yeah.
As right now, Ethan Bass, who is now in the Orbit Motorsport Jupiter machine, is third. Guy Edwards is fourth for RD Simsport, just behind him. And Lewis Ward is down in fifth. So the Apex Racing Academy car was in the pits for 12 seconds longer than Ethan Bass. So there's a lot of elements going on in these individual pit stops here, Ed, that are certainly making life rather confusing for us.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, we're sim racing commentators. We love a bit of confusion, don't we? We don't, like you say, Chaz. I think on a previous broadcast, I think it was actually the season finale. We don't have the ability to go around and ask the drivers what they're doing, see what's going on in the pit box to know what the teams are doing to their cars. We only have to guess and speculate, but it is good fun for us. We love a good bit of speculation, as we have now. Porsche Sport 1-2 in the lead of the LMP2 category. Pete Mackay ahead of Josh Cam. Peter yet to pit, but I believe he's coming in as if on cue right now, and I think we'll make it to... Yes, he will. He's going to make it, I think, just to the halfway point of the race. 1 minute 12:30 to go. Signifies halfway. He'll be in the pit box during that time. So, with a bit more fuel saving, this car could do one less pit stop than those around it.
Definitely could. And it's certainly something they've got to test. He's got Paul Rieger going in now as... Oh, Josh Cam has gone straight on at turn 1. Whoa, he went way far off at turn 1. What on earth happened there? I thought it looked like he went deep. He's had a screen freeze or something. And then he slams on, spins it back around. Oh no, that's not good. Not good for Josh Cam. Somehow holds the lead, but he's only 9.5 seconds clear of Oscar Coveney now. And this is Oscar.
I do hope that hasn't given him a slowdown or anything like that, Chaz, or a drive-through penalty, because that could be really big for the complexion of the race as well. Going that far off the circuit, coming back on. I don't know if iRacing North have thought that he's essentially cut across the circuit.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Javier Martin Roman, who is teammates of Jack Ashton, has jumped into the pits, apparently. And from what I can see, when did Jack Ashton come into the pits? I'm trying to find this for you now. Apologies, everyone. I know there's not anything on the screen at the minute. We'll look at Stephen McDonald while it's still on the replay. Just trying to find Jack Ashton coming into the pits in our what we call our event viewer here on our timing software. It tells you whenever anyone does anything of note. Jack Ashton entered the pit lane here. This is a while ago. This is just after an hour in the race. He's not had a disconnect, has he? Because I can't see anything else after this that has Jack Ashton's name on it, you know. I think if we go to maybe where Josh Cam had his moment and look for, yeah, look. Oh no. So here he is. And this isn't Javier Martin Roman leading the race in the car. This is Jack Ashton driving it at the time. And I think at some point, Ed, that car is just going to disappear off our screens. Not quite sure exactly when it happened, so... Oh my goodness me. All we know is it's still... Oh no, he is back out on track now. Javier Martin Roman is on track, but look. Oh, Jack's saying his internet died. He has disconnected, so that means Taylor Adams leads the race now for Regenta Sim Racing. Unbelievable stuff.
That could be a huge turning point in the race for the GT3 class victory. Regenta Sim Racing, they were in their own little scrap, weren't they, for a moment with Orbit Motorsport. Team and Tweak's car that they were able to overtake and now cleared quite a healthy lead against, to be fair to them. We will see how that shakes up as the drivers do swap over. For me, that has been really pivotal. I mean, we're just talking, weren't we, Chaz, about how strong the performance has been from Jack Ashton and Team Fordzilla, and all of a sudden, just in the blink of the eye, that's what is very cruel and unforgiving. Sim Racing is just the same, and that's seen their fortunes shift just like that at the drop of a hat.
Look at the effect of the carbon fibre there that they've got on this car. They've made it look so realistic. You've got the shine of the weave, but yet it's still got that sort of overall glossy pattern over the top. That's amazing. Jack says it's literally never happened before that his internet has died like that. And it's absolutely devastating. We always do say, don't we, Ed, that we attribute that to a mechanical failure in the real world, and that's when it would have happened. You never know when they are going to happen, and unfortunately, Jack has been caught out by it this time round. And I'm afraid that's how the cookie crumbles in motorsport sometimes. But yeah, it's certainly changed things up a little bit. Let's have another little bit of a recap, shall we? Right now, maybe slightly out of sync with pit stops. Josh Cam leads the race for Porsche Sport in the number 6. Well, let's face it, it's basically a Porsche RS Spider at this point. Oscar Coveney in second place for RD Sim Sport 4. Thomas Fisher now at the wheel of the Chicane Online Racing Blue Machine. And for those of you that thought that was an amazing sounding HPD, no, it's that thing.
That weapon.
Absolute. Not Heinz, the car. Stephen McDonald leading for Brabham Esports GT1, although we need to look at this GT1 car. Is that the leader? That is the leader. Josh Cam is around. Josh Cam is facing sideways in the LMP2, and he's going to lose the lead to Coveney. He's had no luck whatsoever in this race. Callum Brandt had it off. This is how it all started. So Callum's lost it into turn 1. Contact with the TBC red car. Callum's parked in the middle of the road. Cam's gone through. Oh, and he's lost it on his own on the grass on the outside. I thought he might have been clipped by the other car that went through. I thought it was one of the other RD machines. My goodness me. Well, we've had drama, haven't we, at all sorts of points of this race, Ed. It's not something that, well, it's not something the drivers always want. It certainly makes entertainment for the rest of us, though.
Yeah, but that's so unlike Callum Brandt. He's been amazing behind the wheel of his GT4 Mercedes all season long, keeping the championship alive, fighting with Lewis Ward for the title up until the very end. And it's so strange to see that mistake come through from him, because he is so consistent and so quick as well. So it's a shame that that has happened, but obviously the incident that befell what was the race leader is, well, through no fault of his own. That was just an isolated incident. Josh Cam just running slightly too wide on the exit of the first corner.
What was happening there? There was an RD car. It wasn't Wiggins. Callum Brandt. I think as he got damage on that car, is it not behaving itself and he's got to come in the pits? He was running on the apron for a moment there to make sure the car stayed down low. Go a bit further up, because Guy Edwards has got Ethan Bass right behind him now. This is the other RD SimSport machine. The flagship RD SimSport car, effectively, because they've got RD SimSport 1, 2, 3 and 4. And Calvin's reckoning that Team Overtake, which is Ben Gregory and his teammate Rob Lundgren, have taken their splash and dash early rather than at the end of the race. And that's a tactic that we've seen, Ed, in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge by who?
How has the name just suddenly escaped my mind? Oh my god, I feel like an idiot. Chaz, why did you put me on the spot?
Josh Wiggins' teammate Christopher Smith. He was racing in the M4 GT4, wasn't he? And we saw him do that a lot in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge, and it worked very well for him. So maybe Ben has learned from that, and he's going to try and make it work in his Aston Martin. Let's see.
We will see. But again, I'm not sure if that's the case in these, well, 2-hour races. there's a lot more scope for things to pivot against you when you try a strategy like that, rather than in the 1 hour races in the SRM GT4 Challenge. Ben Gregory coming into the pits now to make that car's 3rd pit stop. They will expect to do, I believe, one further one after this to take their total up to 4. It might be touch and go. I think it's going to be one that we'll see if they can make it to 4 or go 4 or 5. Because Andy Marston, the SRM Racing team, I love that car. It just looks absolutely beautiful.
Loving it, absolutely loving it. He may not be right at the sharp end of the order, but I'm sure that he and his teammate Paul Goffin will be enjoying themselves at the moment. Josh Cam is back ahead of Thomas Fisher, by the way, for P2. This is how he did it in the slipstream. On the back straight, that is, as well. That's Lewis Ward just in front of them as well in the Apex Racing Academy machine. And Calvin certainly got it right with the fuel stop as well for Ben Gregory and his teammate Rob Lundgren, who is getting in the car now for team overtake. Car 113 makes its way back out of the pit lane. And whereabouts is he going to come out here? Is there going to be traffic around him, or is he going to have a little bit of clean air? Dan McCauley in the chat saying it was shaping up to be interesting. GG to Calvin Dent, so seems like they've already subscribed themselves to the fact they won't be winning this. We'll have to see. Ben Gregory has done his job though in this Aston Martin. An hour left of the race now, Ed. And Rob Lundgren needs to just push on to try and bring this home now, as the battles continue a bit further ahead of him.
Just hearing from Dan Handover, who's popped a quick little Discord message to me. He's been enjoying that last stint of his. The clear air seemed to be much appreciated after the quite frantic opening stint to the race. Fair, it was one that was really enjoyable for both me and Hugh Chaz to have a watch over. I mean, this is great as well. Look at all the different classes battling away. This is what multi-class racing is all about. Having your wits about you is key, and Josh Cam did beautifully there. That's one of the arts of multi-class that you don't see too often, is when you come up to the different speed classes, is how to navigate it cleanly, and I think that was a perfect example there from Josh Cam. Lovely cooperation as well, actually, from the KB Racing car. That was Martin Kenyon just getting out of the way. Crash at the headlights as Ethan Bass wants to get by it now. Look how squirrely that car is on the exit, and HPD is very, very slippery at times, and I think that corner is the one where it's going to be struggling the most. Thankfully, we haven't seen any cars have an off there, because if there is any corner where it will go by its own steam, it'll be there.
Class leaders in the pits in GT3. This is Regenta Sim Racing on their way in. Daniel Taylor currently second at the moment. Matt Slight is going to get into the Regenta car. Daniel Taylor is actually coming in now for Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks. And we've got Derek Rudenberg for Positively Racing DJ. He was just in amongst all of the battling that was going on. You mentioned the KB Racing machine. There is the KB Nuts car. Love this livery by Martin Kenyon. Josh Cam doing a 1:34.7, by the way, last time round. Fastest lap of the race by a while. Like a good 4-5 tenths quicker than anyone else. That's very, very quick indeed. Here's Kim Such for the back of grid racing. You can tell that Kim's in the car with the bright green highlights all over it as well. He runs very bright green cars in the leagues that he does. Still relatively new to iRacing is Kim, but he got driver of the season in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge for his overall improvement and his commitment to the series. So hats off to Kim, and we hope that the rest of his race continues to go well. We've got Simon Price still out there in the Spontex CDM Esports GT3 as well. And then Fausto Pinto in the Scalant Pro driving cars. Gilles Gardner in Whiskey A Go-Go as well. So all of the GT3 is still running, but just a little bit more spread out than some of the other classes around them, unfortunately, Ed.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, because obviously the car is so great just to watch. And at the start, when we had that massive gaggle of them all together, it was a wonderful sight and feast for the senses. But I think we have started to see them spread out a little bit. But how many times do we say that, as soon as they start to spread out in these endurance style races, that when you get into the final 20 minutes, all of a sudden the action explodes into life as the converging strategies all meet together in that last desperate dash to the finish. So I don't think this is going to be the last we'll see of excellent battling in the GT3 class. I predict a few more fireworks before the fireworks at the end of the race.
Of course, yeah, we will have fireworks when this race comes to an end. Josh Camp into the pits now for Porsche Sport. I think they've got to still do one pit stop after this, so he might take a splash and dash here, or he might do it right at the end. We'll have to wait and see. The other cars go through. Sam Bentham's out there for Boosted Motorsport Virage at the moment. Sam has been very, very quick in the CDM Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. He made a surprise appearance at the final round of the Formula 1 World Championship as well, and was very quick there with his teammate Tim Perry. The two of them teamed up to race for Prost. And Sam's a great lad as well, really does spend a lot of time just keeping the peace in a lot of leagues and a lot of places. Really do get on with Sam. And to be honest, everyone in this entire grid, there's so many wonderful people, isn't there, Ed? And we're spoilt for choice and spoilt for bias, I must say.
We do have... I mean, it's just great to see so many people involved with Sim Racing Magazine as a community as a whole, because when we put out a few sort of interesting feelers to see what was going to be happening with this special event, the response that we were met with was just overwhelmingly, yes, please, when, now, and it was just...
Absolutely.
It really did blow us away, and it's been great to see that has translated to the on-track participation. Over 10 cars or 10 cars in each class. Been wonderful to watch, and it's certainly given us plenty more ideas for things in the future where to take Sim Racing Magazine. Of course, like you mentioned, the upcoming season 3 of the GT4 Challenge is one that I think everybody's going to be looking forward to. But again, the demand for season 2 was immense. We had a huge waiting list that sadly nobody was able to get involved with that season because the participation rate was, well, potentially 100%.
Yeah, that's it. You know, we've just got to make sure that it lives on and not keep people lingering too long. Hence what I mentioned before about the change of other schedules and other championships, so we can go racing in the GT4 Challenge again sooner rather than later. RD Sim Sport 4 just hidden there behind the Aston Martin, still leads this race outright, as that is the TBC Racing blue car. As Dan Thornton being asked whether the car drives slightly differently to the Jetta by Andy Fox. Of course, Dan racing a lot in the Jetta for Team ORD. Him and his teammate Joe Gibson just on our screens there in the Z4. They did say that they're used to driving the Jetta rather than this, so it's quite a different kettle of fish to say the least. It's great to have them out there. Ladislav Zenishek has had a problem, I'm afraid, in the other TBC cars, the TBC Red Aston. Oh, it's going, gone. And on that grass, it's not going to stop, I'm afraid, and it kisses the barrier. Hazard lights come on for a moment there, which I haven't noticed in the Aston before. I've never seen that. I can hand on heart say, I've never noticed that. What was that about?
That was a beautiful little detail.
Did you see that as well?
I saw that there, just at the sort of a small little flashing light just in the headlight region of the car. That was brilliant. Lovely little detail by iRacing on that.
Well, there's something. You learn something every day. Every day's a school day. Right then, battle's going on. James Holman just ahead of Rob Lundgren here. And this is the battle for 5th place in GT1s at the moment. Matt Draycott saying, did someone say Jetta? Matt, of course, the unfortunate position of being my brother, but also he is the reigning British boring car champion. He won the Independence Championship in the first season, and then he won the Teams Championship and the Overall Drivers Championship in Season 2. He's won every prize there is to win in that championship, and I tell you what, he doesn't ever let me forget it. James Holman.
That's where all the racing talent went then?
Absolutely, yeah. All the commentary commentary talent came here. All the looks and driving ability went to Matt. But he was boasting about it to Jason Plato on the weekend, who was very fond of the British Boring Car Championship when he was shown screenshots. And
got to get him involved for a new season.
I told him that no one had survived the race if he was involved, and he said he asked me if that was a problem.
I remember actually Jason Plato, he took part in many moons ago, what was called the Powermax Racing E-Series back at the start of lockdown. I had the pleasure of one of my first ever gigs in commentary, being a pit lane reporter, and little old me, who's never really interviewed a driver before, being asked for the first time to interview Jason flipping Plato. It was a big nerve-wracking moment, but he's such a lovely lad and a great laugh. A really, really good character, and it's great to see that he's been getting involved in the virtual world of motorsport, at least during lockdown.
Indeed, he is. Oh no, we've had a bit of a drama and a bit of a no-no. Callum Brandt and Jake Cranston have had a minute here. They've been together on track. Callum goes around and Jake just catches him and nearly hits the Whiskey A Go-Go car. And coming back on as well, and then Callum has another little spin as the back end spins the rears. The Porsche Sport podcast car has had one of the most sort of topsy-turvy and windy races so far this season, hasn't he? The Paul Rieger and Peter Mackay effort doing a great old job. Paul Rieger, the flamboyant Italian, has been racing in Porsche Club of Great Britain for many seasons now. He's a good laugh, is Paul, as well. And he's flashing the headlights, of course, at more traffic just in front. That is the Positively Racing DJ BMW just ahead of him. How are you all finding the race so far then, everyone? You all enjoying yourselves? How are you finding the show? I hope you're having a fantastic evening wherever you may be in the world. We're going to be finished here in terms of the race at about 11 p.m. UK time, but obviously after that we then need to do interviews and so on. Speak to at least our class winners, as Matas Niger has had an off at the bus stop there by the look of it. Ed, let's have a look what's happened here. Oh. Ouch. We got very unlucky there once in a Ferrari 488 GT3 when I was racing with my good friends Tom Jacobs and Steve Burke. And we had the car very slowly go into the wall, but annoyingly it sort of glitched through the corner of the tyre barrier. And because like 2 pixels of it managed to clip the engine, it blew the engine up completely in the slowest accident we've had there. And that was a real pain in the backside. And I think, to be honest, based on the history of that tyre wall, Matt has got rather lucky there, to say the least.
Fiat's notoriously unreliable, which I think was probably your downfall there of picking the Ferrari to begin with. You're going to always be on the back foot there, but to be fair, it is very tricky. You do come into that corner and you do get it wrong. It's all of a sudden thinking, how can I have the smallest accident possible? And even if you do think you've done it right, just a little bit of bad fortune, bad luck can see your race come to an abrupt end. Sam Bentham, though, he's been really going for it. Slightly off sequence with race leader Oscar Coveney. Sam Bentham came in on lap 39. So Coveney came in on lap 43. So there is a slight disconnect between the two cars, but looking at the pace from Sam Bentham, he's matching Oscar at the moment. Through traffic, though, we might see where the drivers really do come alive. It's all about the management, and truth be told, Chaz, I haven't heard much from Oscar. I haven't seen him race before, so I don't know what your perspective is on this, but I know that Sam Bentham, he is a really smart racer and can deal with traffic like nobody's business.
Yeah, Sam's really, really switched on very, very quick. Oscar and Archie Coveney both very fast as well. And young drivers, so, you know, they've got that sort of tenacity and that excitement that sometimes, you know, it'll get them in trouble here and there. They might have the odd incident because they've got that sort of young confidence, so they've not had the sort of racecraft experience that a number of other drivers have had. As, hello, Thomas Fisher getting held up there by the class-leading BMW Z4. But no, I mean, Archie and Oscar have been doing a phenomenal job for RD Simsport so far. Rob Sutherland told me that they were definitely ones to watch. I mean, you can argue that earlier on, their move down the inside of lap traffic is what affected the race of the cars behind, but I mean, we could argue all day about if there was direct calls there, and we won't get into that too much live on air anyway. But the fact of the matter is that they're leading this race by 8.5 seconds at the moment and looking very, very good at this point of the race.
But the counterpoint is as well, they were in the lead on merit when that incident occurred. Yeah. They were in that position to begin with, so it wasn't like they locked into it. They were there to essentially push the traffic out of the way and do what they needed to do. So, for my money, that there was anything wrong with the incident. It's just an unfortunate circumstance of a bit of miscommunication more than anything else, but that happens all the time in these multi-class races. It's just a shame that it happened at such a pivotal and crucial occasion. Looking at the lap times coming through, though, Sam Bentham on that previous lap took maybe a full second out of Oscar Coveney. I think Oscar had a bit of traffic, so looking at the lap times that they've just set, they're a little bit more, I guess, equal to one another. Just 2/10 difference, as Sam Bentham went a little bit faster than Oscar on that previous lap. So the gap has been coming down, but again, it's all about the buffer that has been able to sort of develop at the early phase of the race and give yourself time that you can just sacrifice here and there. You don't need to push 100% and risk an incident. You can back it off and do what I like to call gap management, where you sort of have an advantage and then you're like, right, I can use this to back the pace off but still come through in the lead of the race, because it doesn't matter if you win a race by 5 seconds or 5 thousandths, you still get that same benefit.
You absolutely do, yeah, you're right. As Ethan Bass has crawled forward into his box there for a moment. On the subject of Ethan, there was a question in chat. Jack Ashton said Ethan Bass should be in the Ford, as in the GT3. Calvin then asked, does Ethan race if there isn't a Ford? And then Matt, my brother, has said, well, he'd also make sure everyone knows he's in the Ford. I've been racing with Ethan and commentating on Ethan for a long, long time. And now Ben Gregory's even weighing in, saying it's probably why Chaz didn't use the Ford GT2 to stop him using it. Wouldn't have been a bad shout to include the Ford, to be honest with you, but I suppose it's one of those things, isn't it? It's a car that often goes under the radar, and it's still on current tyre models. You know, it's still used in the iRacing officials, which, you know, I love iRacing. It's the sim that started my commentary career. I get on with all the people at iRacing, but the fact that that Ford still races with, you know, the MP412C and then modern GT3 cars, it just the hardcore car nut in me just doesn't let that sit right, unfortunately.
I'll say it, I ain't got any dog in this fight. I'll say it's just pure American bias going through. They need to have some sort of car out on the service that all the Americans will flock to, so why not keep it there? But it's quite fun to see it going up against things like the brand new BMW M4 GT3 car, because that is a real treat to drive. When it was released onto the surface, it hadn't even turned a lap in anger in official capacity, yet it was able to go in what was the iRacing officials against the car that has not raced officially for, what was it, about 5 or so years up at that point?
Yeah, absolutely, that's the thing. I mean, you know, we can see it in both lights, that it's great that we have the cars sort of preserved like this. Like we were saying earlier, you know, you get these machines that haven't raced and probably won't race again in a full international capacity at the very top level, but we still get to recreate these events without having to worry about the logistics and how many of them still exist around the world and what the owners want to do with them. You know, we can just get people to virtually drive them and enjoy a classic sort of throwback event like this. Dan McCauley saying it should have been the BMW LMDH, the new prototypes, the C7 Daytona prototype and the Riley. All amazing cars indeed, and would certainly make for quite a fun spectacle, to say the least. Simon Povey's having a bit of a fun spectacle right now. He's just trying to, well, he might be crying a little bit, but he's trying to push his way back through the order in the Spontex CDM Esports LMP2 car. He's 10 seconds off Sean Gardner in the Boosted Motorsport Pink machine at the minute, so hoping to get a few more positions from that. Well, we've had a bit of everything so far in this race, Ed, and we've still got quite a while left to go now. Team Fordzilla back on the upper as well. They're in 5th place and hoping for a podium.
Yeah, Sam Bentham now into the pits for Boosted Motorsport Garage from 2nd place in the LMP2 class. A nice long stop just to fully get up to the brim. Maybe changing a few tyres as well. Be nice and fresh for that final stint of the race. So crucial, obviously, to be in the right window to have this late charge on through the field. Team Fordzilla, Tucker charges up through the field. Obviously, that disconnect has hurt them badly, but they're still in the realms with the lap times that they're setting of getting a podium out of this race.
Absolutely, yep. They can push on and push on. You never know what can happen in the latter stages of races like this. Obviously, the BMW Z4 goes a lot longer on its stint than the other cars in the race and the other classes. We've got Ethan Bass just coming in the pits now. He was right with James Holman, or Jaime Luis Halmano as he's known by his teammates for many reasons. Simon Povey has got Sam Bentham right behind him. Sam's just come out after his pit stop, so he's going to be fired up and hoping to try and make it clear of Simon ASAP. As you see, with Spontex, champion of less effort is their tagline, and it fits me perfectly, to be honest with you. But we tend to put that across the rear wing as a bit of a confusion for people, because usually it says something really awe-inspiring or something great about the team, but no, it says here that basically I'm lazy. And Sam Bentham's going to hopefully, for his sake, use the slipstream now, get past the Hedgehog car and go through. Lewis Ward has just come into the pits from the lead of GT1 here, Ed. Based on how this is all spreading out and working out, well, Stephen McDonald is going to get the lead back pretty instantly.
Yeah, we will do. But I'm just watching all of these different strategies come through, and again, we never really know what we're going to be seeing until the checkered flag falls. But Brabham Esports, they've put themselves in a perfect position, haven't they? All of that hard work done by Dan Handover is doing wonders. But Stephen McDonald, his lap times have been pretty impressive as well. Being able to match those around and even actually pull away at points. So I think it's going to be tricky for drivers to try and best Brabham at the moment. But who knows? There could be a late twist in the GT1 class, because we know what Apex Racing Academy are capable of, and that is strategy calls that can turn the race on their head.
Absolutely. I mean, Apex Racing Team, one of the very best racing teams in the world. You know, they've got guys competing in the Rennsport ESL R1 competition. They've also got the drivers in the Tag Heuer Porsche Esports Super Cup as well, and even in the top level in other championships as well, here on iRacing in the BMW Sim Cup and the like. They are everywhere. John Roberts has had a moment here. Is that down at the bus stop? I believe it is, Ed. Let's have a look.
Look here, I can't quite see what's happened here, Chaz. You'll have to talk us through, but if it was at the bus stop, that's a really bad place to have an incident.
Yeah, just nicks it on the inside right curb there as he's heading around, and the car unfortunately does a big 360. Rob Lundgren has then had an issue since that, so we're going to nip forward and see what happened to Rob. He's just in front of the Orbit Motorsport Jupiter machine of Ethan Bass, who goes up the inside, runs wide at the horseshoe and hits the side of Rob's car, and off he goes. John Roberts has come into the pits since that spin. David Fuller is now on his way back out of the pits, and apparently there's been an issue for Javier Martin Roman, who has been having his own internet issues, and well, he's getting a bit of a push now from Jacob Money. But apparently there was a bit of a moment there where Dan Thornton's just said in the chat that Javier has just appeared in front of Joe after about half a lap of being invisible. So scary, scary moment.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going on there, because he was not really appearing on our timing software, so I thought something was happening. I didn't want to say it in case there was yet another technical issue for Fordzilla, but I think he's all okay now. But I'd say that is a big worry for a team that's already had bad luck. They don't need or want any more if they can help it now. So we are getting into the point of the race where drivers' strategies can begin to converge against one another, and we do start to see, I think, a few more closer fights. It's going to be interesting for me what's going on in the LMP2 class, the sharp end, because pretty much all of them are off sync with one another.
Yeah, this is the moment of the race now where we get to see people's hands, isn't it, really? Where towards the end of the race, where the strategies all start to make sense and they all start to add up for us. We've got cars at all different points of the race. 40 minutes left to go, and like that there, Boosted Motorsport Orange carry on, while Boosted Motorsport Pink come into the pits. And it's a long old pit lane here at Daytona, isn't it? It feels like it takes absolutely forever to come down it. Oscar Coveney is about to find that out for himself.
Yeah, it's such a long pit lane. Before, obviously, the pit lane limiter used to end basically as soon as you got past all the pit boxes, so you'd be able to properly razz it in towards the sort of little hairpin. But now you do have to stick on the limiter for a lot longer, and that does mean that if you can save enough fuel to negate that extra pit stop come the end of the race, you gain a lot more time than you would previously. A lot more.
Just feels like forever sitting here, doesn't it? I wanted to stay on board for the entire pit stop just to see how bad it feels, and oh god, I really don't like that. I don't think Oscar will either, to be honest.
So does it again here. You're just stuck on the pit lane limiter. To wait till you're all the way around here. Then you get to the green cones. You're like, relief. But then you need to be careful because cool tyres and this little sort of chicane that you have to go through, the quick little left, right, left, it does upset the tyres. So you need to make sure that you're nice and calm on the throttle pedal, lest you spin out and meet a grizzly end in the wall. Yeah, Oscar Coveney, very nicely done there through the pit stops, well managed, and now we come to a car that's had, like you say, Chaz, a very topsy-turvy race. Found themselves, well, right at the rear end of the LMP2 class. Now find themselves leading the way. Paul Rieger and Porsche Sport.
Yeah, they'll be very happy, won't they, right now with the current progress. I know that it may be temporary, this race lead, but listen to how much they're lifting off there. They've been fuel saving all race long, though, and I think if they get this right now, then they're going to be able to go to the end, where others may still need to pit again. Battle going on here between, well, an LMP2 and a GT1 apparently, but that's because Stuart Clark and Russell Clark have had a bit of a rough time in this race. They've just got ahead of Ethan Bass for P14 outright, but of course that is not for class position. So in terms of the results, really, it doesn't mean that much to them. They're just recovering from that earlier problem. Simon Povey is now within 10 seconds of Andrew Marston, boss man at Sim Racing Magazine. And they've done a good job of keeping that car clean in this race, because it's very easy to ding a car like this, isn't it? Let's face it.
Very fragile. Made of tissue paper at points.
It really is. It really is. But still, great looking machine, if I do say so myself. And Andy and Paul have done a fine job. And they haven't done anything really like this before, a lot of the guys in this race. So it's nice to see that they're still prodding on. We've only lost 2 cars from the race. Series 1 racing in the BMW and the FTR Esports Corvette. Other than that, everybody else still running at the moment. And Matt Slate, I should say, leads the way for Regenta Sim Racing in the GT3s. Continues to push on. And it looks like he's all on his own for a minute here, but you and I both know how quickly an LMP2 car can just fire itself across shot, don't we?
Yeah, one thing to watch though is Gareth Mesham in the Orbit Motorsport Demon Tweaks car closing that gap down. That last lap from Gareth was just over a second faster than Regenta Sim Racing, so there could be a little bit of an alert going on that they could be caught before the end of this stint. Gareth is really pushing hard. Josh Wiggins in behind is, I think, giving him the hurry up as he's just set a personal best lap in that car. That is SimSport 2 entrant in 3rd place and really going smoothly.
Yeah, Gareth Messam's very quick as the Porsche Sport podcast car comes in. We now go onto the roof cam of the BMW. You can see all the muck and bits all over it. Looks excellent. Down the inside there goes Lewis Ward, who was crowned Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge just a week ago. Well, he was not crowned the championship. He was crowned the champion, I should say. He wasn't called the championship. He was the champion as... Oh dear, ORD. Joe Gibson off the road, gets back on again. Easy to go off there at the International Horseshoe though, Ed. Let's have a look how he did it. Did he get help? No, he didn't.
Just looking in his rearview mirror a bit too much at the Aston Martin that was trying to get through. Unfortunately, he did run slightly wide, but kept out of the wall, which is well done, because in towards the International Horseshoe, if you do get onto the grass, it sort of drops down. It's gravity and the grass pulls you towards the tyre barrier, so it was well managed on the throttle on the brake just to keep the momentum going, keep yourself out of the wall, and thankfully out of trouble. Now Paul Rieger, with pit stop under his belt, has dropped out of the race lead. into traffic, which he's able to get through there. That's the KB racing car. Martin Kenyon still going strong in the 11. It's a lovely livery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good
Really.
little fun livery as well, I think. It's a one that is obviously seems to work nicely with the car as well. Although we did, I don't want to put him on blast, but we did see a few previews of liveries in the SRM Discord before the race was to be held, and I believe that was a KB Racing livery that was put on the brand new BMW.
Yeah, not to save Martin his blushes at all, but yeah, there was a slight... I mean, to be fair, it's one letter different because you've got the BMW Z4 GT3 and the M4 GT3, and unfortunately for Martin, he decided that the M4 GT3 was the car we were using, but it didn't take him long.
It looked pretty either way.
Oh yeah, it looked belting, but it didn't take him long to get it on the Z4, to be fair. I imagine a lot of the patterns he could just drag over, but I know it's a lot of work to do these liveries. By the way, the Corvette is still going. Let's just give it a sec. Thank you, Danny. Wonderful thing, still going on. We've got Peter Yerke in the TBC Racing blue car, 7th place in his class, 2.6 seconds ahead of Callum Brandt, car number 60, so that could definitely evolve in the latter stages of the race. Apex Academy now are 20 seconds clear of RD Simsport for 2nd position, so they're looking nice and healthy for some, I was going to say big championship points, but it's not a championship. We may do an endurance series at some point though, because it's good fun. This, I quite like these longer races. Maybe not as long as this, but still, we'll have to put our heads together in future and see. What
we've had many a fun time in a car booth for endurance races, haven't we, Chaz?
Oh, aye, we've had many. We did the Zolder 24 before as well.
Oh yeah, before I did 12 hours non-stop. That was actually quite good fun, to be fair. It was mental, but I loved every moment of it. You know me, as long as I'm in the comms box, I'm happy. No matter what it's over, I'm just a bit of a loony like that. But it was great fun, and we've had other brilliant races that we've had the joy of commentating over. It's going to be interesting to see if we do have a SRM Endurance Championship, what that might look like. But of course, I'm sure we'll brainstorm some things, maybe after Season 3 of the GT4 Challenge. One series at a time. Don't want to overwhelm ourselves, of course.
No, absolutely. It's very easy to oversubscribe yourself with sim racing. You know, there's no logistical challenges really to getting the cars all the way around the world, and cost of owning said cars. And like I said before, finding the specific examples and having them race in many championships in 1 year. We do see it though, you know, we see teams with GT3 cars enter them in many series all over the world, and they change just the number boards and the windscreen banners on them week after week. And you don't have to go through such challenges really in sim racing. Just put different decal layers on, which is basically the same thing, but just change the file. Anyway, I'm getting too deep into this. Ryan Parkins is in the Porsche Sport Car, and he is only 1.6 seconds behind Thomas Fisher. So the double Porsche Club of Great Britain sim racing champion, the King Hippo, as Peter Mackay and I call him. He's on the charge again. Ryan is one of the finest sim racers I know. This boy can manage traffic like nothing I've ever seen. And he's a really lovely bloke as well, really funny guy. So this is going to be an entertaining couple of minutes. We've got half an hour left here at the minute, Ed. We're not even halfway through what would be a Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge race.
Gosh, this is... When you put it in perspective like that, I mean, where has the time gone? It's absolutely flown by. When you think of how long we've been here, Chaz, it hasn't felt like that at all. It's been really good to see all of the action out on track. And again, just looking at the lap times, Garrett Mesham closing up to Matt Slate in the Regenta Sim Racing car. That gap is closing down in GT3, you know. As is, of course, like you've been mentioning, the gap that Ryan Parkins, he's taken up so much time compared to Thomas Fisher. Thomas must have had a horrible amount of traffic to lose, 3 seconds was on that last lap, Chaz.
Yeah, quite a bit actually. And I did think he was taking chunks out of him, but that's the thing on the circuit like this. There are really horrible places where you can meet traffic. We ride on board with Javier Martin Roman right now for Team Fordzilla, teammates with Jack Ashton. Let's not forget this car was leading the race for so long earlier before a freak disconnect for Jack Ashton forced Javier to get in the car earlier than planned, and he's now trying to pick up some pieces here. Right in front of him is Jacob Money in the Positively Racing DJ machine. And right now, Xavier is going to be happy that Jacob's push to talk button is no longer his headlight flash button. Pop and bang from the back of the BMW as he changes up through the gears. Look at it in the slipstream though, 270 kilometers an hour. He's going to try it down the inside. Jacob Money backs out of it ish, does he? Tries to at least force it to be difficult for Xavier. And now Jacob Money's going to be on the back of him as they go on to NASCAR 3 and 4. On board, you can hear the gearbox screaming away in the back of this wonderful little racing machine. And here we go. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, dearie me. Dearie me. As well, there you go. Into the pits goes Xavier Martin. So that was all just basically mind games.
Yeah, I mean, it was smartly done, of course. Wants to be ahead before he comes into the pits, so he doesn't have to worry about what Jacob Money's doing. If he's going to be coming into the pits, he'll know that no matter what happens, he'll be able to set the pace and go under the apron to enter the pit lane without any worries. So it was, I think the safest thing to do was to make the overtake into the bus stop, knowing that you're going to be coming in at the next lap because of how obviously the cars can be brought close together in the slipstream, and any sort of miscommunication, misinterpretation of where the cars are moving could result in an incident. So that was smartly done by Xavier, and I think that puts him in good stead for the final stint of the race. Those BMWs do have hefty tanks of fuel, so a 75% reduction should see them able to make well over 30 minutes or half an hour worth of running. There's Rob Lundgren having a moment just on the entry to the oval, but just turns in, and with too much speed meets the barrier on the exit. Thankfully it's the softer barrier, so that isn't going to do too much damage, but we'll see just how much with the bumper. If it deforms too much, a little bit of a dent, it seems to revert back. So with the speed that he took into there, I think he can thank his lucky stars that it wasn't much worse.
I think Simon Povey's going to be glad that that wasn't much worse there on the way around the bus stop. There goes the number 60 machine. Now that's for position. Callum Brandt trying to go through around the outside of car number 113. Rob Lundgren, 8th in class at the moment, is about to become 9th. I think Rob's going to have to go into the pits. He is. But this might just be the last fuel stop. This is second place in the race out right now, Ed. There is Ryan Parkins, and, well, I'm not sure if Thomas knows of Ryan outside of this, but I'll tell you what, if you do, you'd be scared. Very scared.
Yeah, you'd be missing your overalls, I think, at the sight of this, because Ryan Parkins, he's not called King Helpo for nothing. He is so dominant. He's essentially trying to be the boss at any circuit he goes to, wants to stamp his authority, and he's going to do just that now into the slipstream right behind Thomas Fisher. Look at the closing speed between the pair of them, already along the inside. He's going to dive up the way through into the bus stop. Slight wiggle, able to come through thanks to a good cooperation by Thomas. And now Ryan Parkins might start to set his sights, and it'll be lofty sights, but on Oscar Coveney with 26 minutes remaining. RD Simsport will need to pit again, as will Ryan Parkins. Look at this though, Thomas Fisher, he's not going to take this line down, is he? He's going all the way around the outside. This is a beautiful move if he can stick it on the exit. That was tasty stuff by Thomas. Really brave around the outside, carry the momentum, the speed through, drifted so nicely towards the apex, made sure there was no car overlap. He could just take the line as he wanted to. That was a thing of beauty there.
That was excellent, wasn't it? Look at the speed around the outside that Thomas Fisher carries. Great respect by Ryan Parkins as well. Gets it stopped a little bit sooner and allows for that room around the outside. Great racing by the two of them. Really love to see that. It's not over yet, though. They're still stuck together, and there's going to be so much more slipstreaming in this last 25 minutes of the race here, Ed. I can't believe, actually, how quickly the last sort of hour has gone, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Ryan Parkins on that last lap, even with the overtaking and then being overtaken himself, but nearly half a second faster than Oscar Coveney in the lead of the race. So he's got the pace with him, but he obviously get the position side by side around the outside. This will be brave if he's to make it stick. He should back out. He does back out. And now we'll then think about the run in towards the first corner if he gets a good exit from the bus stop, which he does. And now, yet again, onto the banking around the oval. Slipstream will work its magic, play its part in getting these cars closer and closer together. You can see the car lengths disappearing, the space vanishing very quickly. But Ryan Parkins wants no part in this fight, comes into the pits instead.
Yeah, Ryan Parkins then to make the final stop for Porsche Sport podcast. Their teammates not too far behind, actually. Paul Rieger at the wheel of the machine right now. He's actually just coming round NASCAR 3 and 4, is he not? Yes, that is the final corner down towards the tri-oval and across the line once more to start his 74th lap of the race. Matt Slate still leads this race in terms of the GT3 cars. He's got 2.8 seconds over Gareth Messing, but Gareth is taking chunks out of him. You know, he was half a second quicker on that previous lap, actually. So he's really on a mission right now. And it's certainly working well for him. Dan McCauley's asking Calvin Dent if he's got magic tyres on that Aston Martin at the front in the Brabham machine because it's going so well. Lee Berridge as well, by the way. Very kind words, sir. Thank you very much. Lee said that this has been such a good race. Some of the driving has been so much better than other series. Well done to everyone who's put this together. And to be honest, Ed, you know, without us sort of sounding too big-headed, it's something that we've really prided ourselves on since Sim Racing Magazine started, haven't we? I mean, we've had an amazing community which mainly started from the drivers of the Porsche Club of Great Britain Sim Racing Championship. A lot of them came over with this fantastic idea of the respect of racing and, you know, awesome racecraft. We've had the majority of our fields taken up by them since it began, but every so often, you know, there's other drivers that come in as well and show the same sort of racecraft. It's just really, really lovely to see, and even in this event as well, it's nice to see that that's still a big playing factor.
Yeah, even me being the reprobate that I am was accepted into this community. And to be fair, it is absolutely wonderful to become part of this. Obviously, like you mentioned, it was members of the Porsche Club of Great Britain that essentially formed this community, but it's been so accepting of new members, the likes of Lewis Ward and everybody else that's come through and called this championship one that they've raced in. It has been so brilliant for everybody, and obviously the demand is such that plenty of drivers from outside SRM want a piece, and I don't know how we're going to manage all of this, Chaz, because the demand is so high. We don't have enough spaces for them all to fit into. We might need 2 splits.
Simon Povey is off and in the barriers here as, that's Gareth Messam in the BMW. Gets a flash of the headlights and, oh no. Oh no. Dan Thornton went off just before this, but not for long. I think he's just going to have skipped across the grass. Yep, just goes a little bit hot into there, but we're going to have a look back at this though. So this is actually a while before this. Apologies. This is what happened with Simon then. So he's gone past the BMW. And then, he's just got a little bit too hot into the horseshoe. And I think it gets beached, you know. It just, it digs in and the rears are off the ground. And Simon's straight into the pits. The car has been sat there since. It'll be towing back now. And it's been...
If we can, Chaz, I want to have a look at the one that we saw with Dan Thornton, because I think I saw another sketchy moment that followed after this incident. Look in the background from the rear end of Dan's car, if we can, because there's a very fast approaching Aston Martin that has to slam onto the anchors to avoid contact.
Yeah.
That was really good awareness.
Yeah, good stuff, to be fair, by the Aston Martin. Nicely pointed out as well, Ed. Good stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, the Spontex CDM Esports LMP2 entry not having the best of times. But this guy at the moment, Oscar Coveney, after taking over from Archie earlier on, continues to lead this race, 11.2 seconds. As the 2 Porsche Sport cars are now sort of filtering their way around. Ryan Parkins is one of the only cars to have done 4 stops in this race so far. He's going to be doing more where possible. I mean, he's not going to be doing more where possible. Sorry, he's going to be doing as little pit stops as possible.
I think that would be his final stop of the race.
Yeah, absolutely.
My maths that I tried to work out earlier on, we did see, I believe it was this Porsche Sport car actually that had the incident at the start of the race. about 25 minutes in. I'd say the final pit stop should be around about 25 minutes. So I think coming in on lap 73, that should see them fine right up until the end. It might be close. They might need to do a bit of fuel saving, but I mean, this Porsche Sport car has been doing more than enough fuel saving from the word go. So they should be a-okay without any future stops. And with plenty of cars up in front that will need to make a final pit stop, you do start to wonder where exactly they will find themselves come the falling of the checkered flag. I mean, for me, I think it's got to be potentially a podium, you know. They've got Sam Benton, Paul Rieger, David Fuller, all within range of them, as you can see, all within about 20 or so seconds. Pit stop, you lose a lot more time than just that, so I think certainly a podium's on the cards for them.
Sorry, we've got a highlight here from well, I'll say a highlight. Jaime Luis Holmano coming together there with the, I believe that was that the Whiskey A Go-Go BMW, Peter Brill. Yeah, he's on the inside line. Oh, he's just trying to get out of the way, but unfortunately hasn't slowed down enough to let the guys through, and then he's just parked on the apex for them to hit, unfortunately. And James Holman having the spin, but carrying on the race, we've got leaders in GT3 in the pits and out of the pits, and Matt Slate is still sat there. 33, 34 seconds, and Gareth Messam has taken the lead here, Ed.
Has Matt Slate taken tyres, or did they have a penalty perhaps?
It's taken tyres.
Jumps down, taking tyres.
Oh, it's absolute strategy suicide from Matt Slate and Regenta Sim Racing. Josh Wiggins has gone through as well for RD Sim Sport 2. So that's a freebie for them. And with only 18 and a half minutes left, suddenly Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks find themselves leading the GT3 category. Well, that's a turn up for the books. We would have thought that the teams would have that nailed by now, but it seems like no matter what, it can go wrong as, whoa, Lewis Ward off the road now in the Aston Martin. Sorry, I just wanted to listen to it pull away because I knew it would sound great before we went back to a replay. He's got the race leader behind. Oh, I think Lewis was just trying to stay out of the way around the outside. Just went in a little bit too deep. And Oscar Coveney just about squeezed up the inside of the other lap traffic there as well, didn't he? We've got the two Czech drivers together on the track, which is Ladislav Zenešek and Peter Jurka. This is TBC Racing Red chasing TBC Racing Blue. I'm not sure when they're going to sort their team name out, but still. Right together. Ferris wheel off in the background. It's still very beautiful. Look at the blimp up there, Ed. I'm not sure if it's in the same place for you, but that looks mint.
Big boy, wonderful stuff. Yeah, it looks really nice, illuminated like that. Around here, I mean, we do see the lovely change of scenery. The floodlights illuminating all of the cars, the lovely liveries on display, and we are now into the final few moments of what has been a special event to remember. The Daytona Classic has been just that, a classic display of entertaining racing. Ladislav Zenešek, like you say, battling with Peter Jurka, but Jurka able to just blitz off down the road now, following through some of the other threads that we've been trying to keep track of. And obviously, like I say, Brad Meesport's far and away leading their class in GT1. Ahead of, obviously, Lewis Ward, who had that little moment, and I wonder if that might come back to bite them, you know.
I don't know, you know. I don't think he hit the wall hard enough for it to make a massive difference to the car. Seemed like he got away with it. Doesn't even look like there's any visible damage on the back of the machine. He's got the LMP2 car right behind him now, which is the second place car in the race. Thomas Fisher in the Chicane Online Racing Blue machine. 16 and a quarter minutes to go here at Daytona in the Sim Racing Magazine Daytona Classic, sponsored by Orris Digital, an e-commerce consultancy and digital marketing agency, specialists in business-to-business clients. And they're a premier Google partner as well, run by the wonderful Heinz Mayer, who has always been so supportive of Sim Racing Magazine and the leagues and events that we put on. And we thank him for his sponsorship for this wonderful, wonderful event. I'm sure you'll all agree that this has been great fun. Plenty going on up and down the field. We really do hope the drivers have enjoyed it just as much as we have. Gary Tall, I can give you a bit of insight from the Spontex CDM Esports camp. But Gary has said you know, regardless of what happened at the start, he's found it really, really good fun. Simon Povey, after his incident, called it a night to forget, but Gary said, not really, it reminded me why I love this so much. And that's the thing, endurance racing like this, it's just a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it? It makes you feel alive because there's so much going on, rather than just one solid sprint. It's epic, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's so many different phases to a race here. Obviously, you've got the start where it's all quite frantic and panicky, and you can sometimes find your race coming to a quick end with contact here and there, but you can get through there. Then you get into the phase of the race where you have to start managing, lifting and coasting, trying to save some fuel, looking after the tyres as well, maybe not pushing at 100%, seeing what you can do to look after the pace. You might have a certain lap time target that you're having to hit every single time as you're saving fuel, and all these different things can come together while you're having to navigate slower and faster cars with traffic. It all comes together into just an amazing experience. There isn't really anything like it in racing, sim or otherwise. We have been treated to, let's say, a really good show across all of the classes. Stephen McDonald now coming into the pits from the lead of the races. What was that dive up the inside? That was a massive lunge. Jake Cranston has gone straight over, and that's going to be a hefty slowdown penalty.
That wasn't even for position either. That was lapping Rob Lundgren, the team overtake. And that was a big, big mistake by Cranston. He just, I think he was so bothered about telling Rob he was going to be there. He should be braking now. And he's broken way too late there. There's Jake Cranston.
I'm worried about what happened in behind, actually, because I think that was the Chicane Online Racing car, Thomas Fisher, that nearly got into the back of Robert Lundgren throughout all of that carnage.
Let's have a look. This is... Oh, no, he's all right, I think. Yeah, he's saving fuel. He's all right. But I know what you mean, though. It certainly compressed very quickly between those guys, didn't it? Lewis Ward back in the pits, by the way, for Apex Racing Academy. I don't think they're going to change drivers back to Dan McCauley at this point. I was just trying to see if there's anybody that we could go back on board with. And I think, to be fair, considering they've not really had a race to remember in the 222, with just a few minutes left of the race here and everything being a bit spread out, we're just going to take a very quick break here on Chaz Draycott Media. But if you just give us literally a minute, we'll just go on board with the Corvette for a little bit, and we'll enjoy ourselves before we come into the last final stage of this race. Bear with us. Isn't it just an animal? Absolute animal, the Corvette C6R GT1. And of course, a big thanks to Heinz Meyer and Orris Digital, our sponsor for this event. I know their race hasn't quite gone their way, but we wanted to at least give them the airtime for sponsoring the event as well, and being such a great supporter of Sim Racing Magazine and everything we do. And we'll give it one more fly past. It's just
when
such...
it gets side on, you just hear it from the exhaust. Oh.
I mean, it's that loud, it's like the Aston's not even there. I was going to actually jump up to Sam Bentham, but Sam's just popped into the pits for Boosted Motorsport Virage, and he's now just taking on fuel for this final few moments of the race. The pit stops around him have all been over 20 seconds. I think where he is right now, it's going to be actually quite similar, you know. I didn't think they'd need that much, to be honest. It wasn't a driver change or anything, but it seemed to be longer. 25 seconds for Sam Bentham. I wouldn't have thought he'd need that much. Sean Gardner's going to come through in the Boosted Motorsport pink car. He goes around the outside. Sean Gardner, one of the super subs for Boosted. Last minute after one of their other drivers couldn't make it. Ladislav Zenishek is having a lot of blinking in and out right now. If we go on board with Callum Brandt and look back, you might see him. I don't think the car's actually disappearing though. But that is, I think, Ladislav just behind. Or is it? No, I think that's the Orbit car, isn't it? That's just behind. Who is just ahead of him? Heinz Mayer. Oh! Well, Heinz Mayer was just ahead of him. But the Corvette is off on the infield there. Let's have a look at what happened here. Oh, it's just got that horrible lazy spin at slow speed, hasn't it?
Got to be careful coming back on. It's a tricky place to rejoin. I'm going, oh, that sound.
with the lick of flame and everything as it got going. Let's just listen to that again. I'm going to turn it up at my end, bear with me. I'm going to turn this up for everyone just cause, why not?
It's so difficult as a commentator to keep your composure when you have a sound like that going on, a sound that you've hardly ever heard in ages. It's a wonderful little bit of kit, and sadly, as Peter Brill has a moment and gets stuck in the tyre barrier, there's no use reversing. You're stuck in there, mate. There's no chance of getting out, and I think Peter Brill has had to pull off and come into the pits there, and you can just see rear end gets loose on the downshift into the tyre barrier, and it's one of those horrible tyres where you just get stuck into, can't pull out. I mean, just like in real life as well, to be fair, you do see cars getting stuck in the tyre barriers, can't reverse out. And that's unfortunately, I think, what's just happened to Peter Brill.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he just wanted to try and get out of the way of the LMP2 car coming through. And unfortunately, in the end, it didn't quite work for Peter, and it was more whiskey oh no rather than whiskey a go-go in that scenario. How's the other Hedgehog car getting on? How's my team getting on? Jakub Szymanski, 10th at the moment in GT3 in the Spontex CDM Esports GT3 machine. And he, of course, teammates with Simon Price. They've got Tom Weston 51 seconds up the road in the Scalant Pro driving car. He's then about 14 seconds off Dan Thornton, who is then 35 seconds off Kim Such. And that car not living up to its name at the moment. One of the biggest movers in the GT3 field, actually, back of grid racing. Doing a great job. And even his teammate Ryan Penny, I believe. But they've got then a minute and a bit to Martin Kenyon in the KB racing car. So they've got quite a lot of safety now. We're into the last 8 minutes of this race here, Ed. And Oscar Coveney in RD Simsport 4 still leading the race, doing a mega job.
Yeah, been really strong. Oscar Coveney has just been able to manage that gap as well, increase it. In fact, as the laps have gone by, the traffic management has been so pivotal for this team in their race. And it just shows how much you can gain, because on pure pace alone, I think RD Simsport, Chicane Online Racing Blue, they've been pretty much tit for tat in terms of lap times, but when you get down to just the management of the traffic, that's where those 15 seconds have come from. Essentially, it's just managing the race and really just having a level head when you're coming through traffic and being decisive when you need to be. Yeah, looking at the lap times when they had clear air, I mean, there's only a tenth between them, so it is essentially just all down to the traffic. And over the course of, well, what, nearly 2.5 hours, when you think that they're only separated by 15 seconds, that is not a lot of difference per lap.
No, absolutely not, and that's the thing. It's become like this in endurance racing in the real world now. Obviously, in sim racing, you don't have to worry so much about reliability or anything like that, and the cars breaking down. Obviously, away from, you know, potential hardware failures and software letting you down and all that. It's just become long distance sprint racing now, because they're not having to nurse the car around to get it to finish a stint. You know, they're just absolutely kicking its head in for the entire length of the race and getting the most that they can out of every stint in terms of pace. You know, it's become a bit more of an art form, to be honest with you. Here's Gareth Messam, and this Demon Tweaks team, well, they may not have been the most outlandish of this entire race, but they've certainly made it work for them, haven't they? They've been up there the entire time, and it's been a great job. They've got the ORD car there. He had to send it really there, because it didn't look like the ORD car wanted to get out of the way. Managed to make it work, but again, Those are the moments, though, Ed, where it just takes a little bit of miscommunication, a bit of misunderstanding from the other car involved, and you make yourself look a bit silly because you've gone for this big send, and all of a sudden that's when it can go horribly wrong and ruin your race. Like with Ben Gregory before, he had that massive manoeuvre down the inside, made him look a bit heroic. Other drivers may not agree, but he went for the move when others were saving fuel, and if that wouldn't have come off and he would have hit one of them, that would have looked, that would have been awful, and that would have been the talking point of the race. But he made it work, and sometimes it's all about risk versus reward, isn't it? 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, 5 minutes to go. Change in the lead for LMP2, but it might not be one that lasts, as we expect Chicane Online Racing Blue to make their final pit stop in just a few moments' time. RD Simsport have relinquished the lead, and now they will be crossing their fingers and hoping that the car ahead of them, their main rival, will need to pit again, because if they don't, that could see the race victory slip from their grasp. Where is Chicane Online Racing Blue? They are coming up to the entry now. We will see, of course, when we come out of this corner, the attitude of the car, if it's going to be going towards the apron or not. If we can go for another lap, then the worries will start to grow for Oscar Coveney and the RD Simsport camp. Dipping under the apron though, breathing a sigh of relief. If you can hear it, the 61 car will now realise, yes, fine, we do have the advantage restored back to us. But an interesting thought is going to have to be, where will Chicane Online Racing Blue slot out in relation to Porsche Sport? Because I think Porsche Sport Podcast might be able to get ahead of them, and I don't think that car needs to pit.
Yeah, I'm not sure they do, They've done a mega job. I mean, they could do, 22 laps before? That would have put them on lap 88. Oh, I don't know.
Thomas Fisher last came in on lap 62. Ryan Parkins last came in on lap 66. So I think...
No, Parkins was 73. Paul Rieger was 66.
Paul Rieger was 66. So, by the looks of things, try to work out this. I think only about 3 or 4 laps remaining in this race.
Not even that, it's 3
you know
minutes.
What? This is just an all-out scrap now till the end, because I think Paul Rieger, he's got enough in the tank to keep going.
Porsche Sport in the chat saying it is tight, and you're telling me we've got half a second between the LMP2 cars fighting over second and third place with less than 3 minutes to go here at Daytona after nearly 2.5 hours of racing. Ralph Meyer in the chat as well saying, I just got home, Chaz, from a business trip. What did I miss? Oh, plenty, Ralph. It's been a fantastic race. Loads going on. And I hope your business trip went well, my friend. I really do. Well, now we need to look forward from Thomas Fisher, though, and keep our eyes on that yellow Porsche, basically, in front. Right now, through the bus stop as quickly as they dare at this latter stage of the race. The cars will be feeling very light and very flimsy, and the tyres will be all worn out. There's no other battles on track anywhere near as close as this right now, Ed. This is crunch time. Just over 2 minutes left to go. Oscar Coveney is already on his last lap. 2 more laps to go here at Daytona.
I'll tell you what, Thomas Fisher's looking very intimidating there. You can see his bright golden helmet shining away right in behind. Now you see the purple. I think there's a bit of a gold face to it, so that's going to be gleaming away in the rear view mirrors of Paul Rieger. But there's traffic, and that could play a huge part, as now he's going to have to make a dive up the inside on the ASR car, and I think he's going to get it through on Jake Cranston, and now needs to focus on getting ahead of race leader in the GT1 class, Stephen McDonald. Has to be committed, doesn't want to lose too much time if he can help it, but I don't think he can get through, Chaz.
Oh, it's all very close, isn't it? That was the GT1 leader, the Brabham Esports GT1 car. Stephen McDonald doing a great job in this race. So too did his teammate Dan Handover earlier on. They don't want to get in the way of the overall race lead battle. Gareth Messam still leading in the GT3s as well. They're going to come on to what's going to be their penultimate lap now. Josh Wiggins and Matt Slate, second and third, RD Simsport 2 and Regenta Sim Racing, then Positively Racing DJ, and then Team Ford Zilla. But yes, the overall race leader, Oscar Coveney, just coming round NASCAR 3 and 4 now. Doing a great job. And Double Dash Motorsport Media, good to see you guys. Hope you're doing all right. A Across the line goes Oscar Coveney to start the final lap now of the Sim Racing Magazine Daytona Classic. Paul Rieger's actually gained 1.6 seconds on Thomas Fisher on that lap there, Ed. The traffic has really helped him out, and they could be on for a second place finish here, and based on how much they dropped in the early stages, that could be an absolute marvel.
Yeah, it will be. Just don't tell Peter Mackay, because he was obviously the driver that was in the car when they lost all of that time. You're going to start to think what could have been potentially, but let's not let that take away from the performance from the pair of them to claw back through an excellent recovery drive. A full second was taken out on that previous lap by Paul Rieger against Thomas Fisher. The traffic was so... Ooh, that was a good little catch there, Chaz. The replay from Oscar Coveney.
Yeah.
A couple of wheels out onto the grass. That would have been heartbreak if his race ended at that late stage. Lost a bit of time, but I think he should be A-OK to carry on. Look at Paul Rieger. He's been a real revelation in this car, saving plenty of fuel to make the strategy work. When everyone else has made 4 pit stops, they've made 3, and they're certainly making it work.
Absolutely. Peter Mackay did a wonderful job early on. Porsche Sport in the chat saying Paul Rieger with one of our best fuel save stints to date. Incredible. But the lights are already flashing. The bulbs are going mad, because after just over, or just under I should say, 2.5 hours of racing, RD Simsport 4, Oscar Coveney, Archie Coveney round the final corner to win the Sim Racing Magazine Daytona Classic. What a fantastic drive indeed. Very well done to the 61 machine. And fuel save, wow, look at featherweight Rieger. Fantastic stuff with Peter Mackay, Porsche Sport Podcast second, Thomas Fisher and Chicane Online Racing Blue are third. And what a win in the GT1s by Brabham Esports GT1. Stephen McDonald and Dan Handover. Very well done to those boys. Lewis Ward and Dan McCauley are going to come home in second position in the glorious sounding Aston Martin DBR9. We've been dropping our jaws for the entire race, to be fair, Ed. And what a great drive these guys have put in. But once Brabham got away early doors, it was just unstoppable, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an absolute clinic put on by the pair of them, Stephen McDonald and Dan Handover. But Lewis Ward, he will bring the car through for a solid second place. Lewis Ward and Dan McCauley have been really good all season long in the SRM GT4 Challenge, and here tonight they carry on that form with a hard-earned and well-deserved second place finish in a very competitive GT1 field, so they can leave here tonight with heads held high, but not sure if they'll be any higher than Gareth Besham right now, who can see well behind him. RD Simsport, Magenta Sim Racing, they've already met the checkered flag, so he has no threat from behind. He can come through safely, take the GT3 class victory.
Fantastic drive indeed by Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks. Great to see that livery back out from retirement, and what a great win that was by them. Very, very good job. Absolutely love that. Fantastic performance. And Oscar Coveney and RD Simsport 4, well, they'll be over the moon. That was really cool. Really cool indeed. Great recovery by Paul Rieger and Porsche Sport Podcast. They started 7th on the grid, finished 2nd. And to be fair, Oscar Coveney and RD Simsport 4 started actually 5th on the grid here. And you know, earlier on I said, is there anyone in that top 4 on the grid that you think could win this race? It turns out none of them did.
No, exactly, but that was a stunning performance, you have to say, from the two Coveneys. And again, that Brabham Esports GT1, I think they're going to be coming up to the line for a photo opportunity, maybe a few donuts as well, and who can say that they don't deserve to do it?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, let me just grab my volume mixer. Fantastic. What a great noise from the Aston Martin DBR9. What an amazing race, Ed. Plenty of fun, that one. Plenty of fun. It was certainly a really, really strong showing by a number of our teams out there tonight. You can see the lights and everything spinning away in the distance. Looks mega. But let's wrap it up with our race results, shall we, and take a look at the LMP2 class. RD Simsport 4 take the outright victory, 8.1 seconds clear of Porsche Sport Podcast. and then Chicane Online Racing Blue finish in 3rd. Porsche Sport finish in 4th, ahead of the 4 boosted cars. Boosted Motorsport Orange, Virage, Green and Pink, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. SRM Racing Team finished 9th, with Rusty's Roasts Racing the last car to complete the class. Spontex CDM Esports LMP2 unfortunately not finishing, and GM Goodwrench Racing, let's just say an unwanted entrant into the race after some idiot, me, didn't put a password on it. GT1s with Ed.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chaz. And the GT1 class was, fair to say, dominated by one team. That was Brabham Esports GT1, led from the start. Had a few moments where they dropped back behind, but kept on going after that first pit stop, able to build a gap and extend it every single time they came back out on track from the pit stops. A perfect race from them, ahead of Apex Racing Academy. The margin of victory, 35 seconds. Such a commanding race, but Apex Racing Academy, nothing taken away from them. A brilliant drive from 2 drivers that have been so good in the GT4s. They've shown that they can do it in GT1s, ahead of RD Simsport, their arch rivals. I think it's fair to say getting one over them will feel extra sweet, I'm sure, but a great little podium there. Orbit Motorsport Jupiter finishing in 4th, ahead of All Sports Racing. And then we have the 2 TBC Racing teams, Blue ahead of Red, with Team Overtake finishing in 8th place, ahead of RD Simsport 3, Orris Racing, then FTR Esports, who were sadly an early retiree, and again 2 cars that didn't matter. Chaz, over with you for the GT3s now.
Now, this does look a little unfair on the cars that weren't the race winner there, because obviously they finished just after the leader crossed the line. So Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks take the race win. The gap was actually about 17 seconds when it was classified back. Josh Wiggins finished in 2nd place for RD Simsport 2, doing a wonderful job with his teammate Christopher Smith, of course, very good at doing endurance races in BMWs. Then we had Regenta Sim Racing in 3rd, Positively Racing DJ 4th, ahead of Team Fordzilla, 5th place after that very unlucky disconnect earlier on. KB Racing finished in 6th. It wasn't quite the nuts performance we expected, but it was very good. Back of Grid Racing, not living up to their name, but solid performance. Team ORD in 8th, ahead of Scalant Pro Driving in 9th. Spontex CDM Esports GT3 rounding out your 10, with Simon Price saying that was insanely fun. Same time again next week. We have Whiskey A Go-Go 6 laps down, and then Series 1 Racing unfortunately not finishing after an early disqualification. Look at that scene there with all the reflections and everything. It looks very tasty. Then all of a sudden it disappears. Thanks, iRacing. What we're going to do, Ed, is we're just going to rewind the broadcast a little bit, and we're going to look at a random car and just have everything in slow motion and see what we can look at, because we're going to interview some of our drivers. Now, we need to look basically at the very top of the pile, because the team that won the race was, of course, RD Simsport 4. And we've got the drivers in the commentary box with us right now. Archie and Oscar. Boys, you must be over the moon with that one. It was a tough opening stint, of course, but from then on, it was all just about managing it after the incident behind you.
Yeah, honestly, it was such a fun race. Like, I hadn't driven this car before, and like, we didn't really know where we'd be. And yeah, honestly, massively fun to drive. And great to do with my brother as well. Like, really enjoyed it.
I was going to say, I mean, if me and my brother did that, we'd end up killing each other by halfway through the race. But there must be a moment, Oscar, where you put the sibling rivalry aside and just enjoy yourselves. It looked good fun.
Oh, yeah, I mean, things get a little bit heated, particularly when we were trying to figure out strategy, which we weren't sure about at all initially. But we managed to keep things calm and get it figured out in the end, thankfully.
What was the hardest point of the race for you guys? Because I know that this car, it's very fragile to any sort of changes, whether it comes to tyres or the weight of the fuel even in the car. What was the sort of most difficult point of each stint, would you say?
I mean, overall, I mean, perhaps for me, because when I inherited the car, I didn't have to push as much. The car felt fine overall for all of my stints, because I was able to take fresh tyres and take it to the end, and the wear wasn't too bad. It was just the main thing was discussing strategy constantly, figuring out what exactly we were going to do. That's where all the stress was, really. But it was a great race, and we did well, and thank you to RD Simsport and all the guys. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, really enjoyed doing it.
And I mean, you say it was the first time driving the LMP2 in this race, Archie. What were you expecting when you signed up and sort of got behind the reins of this machine? Because it looks like it'd be planted everywhere, but it's not the case, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I mainly drove the P217, and then obviously now with the LMDH, I've been just driving that. But going to this, it's just, in a way, like some of the braking points are quite similar, but yeah, I kind of picked it up fairly well, I'd say. Like, I didn't have tons of time to practice. I've been doing quite a few endurance races recently, so I didn't have as much time as I would liked, but I was surprised as to how well I picked it up in a way. I know that sounds a bit cocky, but like, I was surprised as to how it was surprisingly drivable.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just found it a blast to drive. I hope I can drive it again in an event and another event like this.
It's been a long night, mate. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, lads, it was really good fun to watch. Really was, and a solid performance all the way through. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go and enjoy what is left of your evening? Because I can't believe it's already 11:10.
Yeah, I got college in the morning.
Oh,
but, yeah, I would like to thank Rob and RD Some Sport, obviously, for putting us on this, and SRM for putting this event on. I hadn't raced any classic cars on iRacing before, and it was awesome. I loved it.
And you, Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, likewise, getting to race this car for the first time as well. It was just a lot of fun. I have a soft spot for prototypes like this, so getting to do this in an event like this that has been put on so well, it was just a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you to SRM and RD Sim Sport as well.
Beautifully said, boys. Well, very well done on your win. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll hopefully see you again in an event sometime soon.
Yeah, hope so. Thank you very much.
Cheers, boys.
Yeah, cheers.
Cracking stuff. Lovely lads and very deserving winners, Ed. They were brilliant, weren't they?
Oh, they were absolutely amazing. It was so good to see them come in. Obviously, newcomers to the SRM name. Obviously, the team's been here before, but the two Coveneys really did take that race by storm. And it's great to have plenty of people involved. And another driver who's new to SRM, but not new to me or you, Chaz, has joined us in the comms box for a quick word.
Yes, indeed, Daniel Handover. I will actually leave you in the very capable hands of Monsieur May, because you two know each other from many a paths crossed. But before he does, Dan, very well done, mate. Solid drive.
Thank you. Cheers.
Hey Dan, how has it been, mate? It's been good to see you back out on the circuit there, and I tell you what, that was a brilliant race from you and Brad and Me Sports. Just talk us through the opening couple of stints of the race, because you certainly had to have your work cut out with the huge train of Aston Martins in behind.
Yeah, so at the start we were a little bit unsure as to what everyone were going to do for actual strategy-wise. So we were at the front. It's good in a way, but with Daytona, the draft is really strong. So we made a conscious effort, and you heard it on the broadcast, we were just clutching in so aggressively because we didn't have any draft, so it was hard for us to save. We managed to save enough, and then come the second stint, we went, right, we managed to break the gap. I think if we hadn't have broken the gap with the traffic that was around after the pit stops, I believe with Cam and Orbit coming out, they were quite close, and then some traffic they dropped, and at that point we were like, right, let's knuckle down and crack on, and we both did just that.
Yeah, and obviously it's been a race that was so close at one stage. I mean, how did you feel at the early phase of the race when you just suddenly saw that amazing dive up the inside? Surely that put the fear of death into you.
It caught us. It definitely caught me out. Yeah. So credit to Benjamin for getting the car stopped, because that was I know we were. I was actually just chatting with him in the waiting room just there, and I think we were lifting, coasting so much it actually caught him out a little bit. So he went, well, why not? And then obviously went up the inside. So kudos to Ben for getting the car stopped, and obviously capitalised and got a bit of got some track position. So yeah. Apart from that being a little bit sketchy from our side, I think realistically, the first stint at least was fine. We were controlling pace. We were backing the field up. I was backing the field up quite a lot, just again because of the fuel save, not for anything other reason. It's just to try and save as much fuel as we could. But yeah, it was good fun, that first stint.
Well, glad to hear you enjoyed your first race in the SRM community. What was it that drew you, first of all, not just to race in this event, but also the Aston Martin? Have you had any previous love with it before?
So it's been one of my favourite cars anyway. Even just in real world motorsport, I've always had a soft spot for the DBR9. And as soon as this came up, we were chatting about it within the team as a potential race. I was game for it. Stephen was up for it as well. A bit of discussion, and then we went with the Aston. We were looking at the Corvette, and then decided to go with the Aston, which was Stephen was very kind enough to let us run the Aston, because that was definitely the car that I wanted to go in. And anything GT1 related, I'm pretty much game for. And I've heard a lot of good things about the events from SRM, and I think that's just it's been proven today. It was a fantastic event, really enjoyable, really well organised, just overall a really, really nice event. A little bit of fun, just to have a go and have a play around with some cars that realistically we're never really going to drive that much. Let's be honest, these cars just don't get driven.
Well, thank you very much, mate. It was great to be able to put this event on for you. Great to see you having good success. Hopefully we see more of you to come with the SRM group. It's sort of almost like a family as such, and hopefully you've had a good taste of it. But before we say goodbye to you and let you get off to celebrate with your teammate, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out on the broadcast, mate?
Big shout out to Stephen. First off, teammate, absolutely solid drive in the second half of the race, and also thank you to him as well for allowing us to run the Aston Martin, and also as well for everyone in the Brabham team. We had a lot of people coming in and helping us spot and just keeping us company throughout the race. So just everyone there, thank you very, very much. And that's about it from me.
No worries, mate. Take care and have a lovely day, bud.
Take care, guys.
Smashing
So
stuff.
that was Chaz. Daniel Handover, a lovely chat. Good to have a word with him, because it's been a while since I've heard from him. Good to see he's still as quick as I remember, even though it does hurt me inside to know that I'm not the only commentator that's decent. In fact, he's much better than me at certainly at racing, and almost certainly better at commentating as well.
Well, we go from one very fast commentator to another, and Paul Rieger and Peter Mackay join us. Boys, you must be over the moon with that second place, less than 10 seconds off the leader. You made it work.
Paul's an animal. Paul is an absolute animal. That was one of the best stints I've watched in the history of Porsche sport, which I know is not setting the bar high. I know, but we said we wanted a podium, but to come second, I let Paul agree. We are absolutely cock a hoot right now. I'm gonna go and pour. I'm gonna go to the fridge. I'm gonna grab a bottle of milk, which is probably out of date, and pour it over my head.
Are you gonna do the same, Paul? Are you gonna join him in spirit for that, or physically going?
Need a drink now. That was a long race. That was a hard race, but yeah, it was
I had
so
four
much fun.
loan brows.
What's that?
I had 4 loan brows watching your stint.
Did that? I was going to say, Peter, if that would that have improved or ruined your driving at the end? Do you reckon?
Oh no, I did wait until after I'd driven, and then as soon as I was out, I couldn't handle the nerves. So 4 loan brows, the official beer of Derek Bell. He was a fan of loan brow, and he was quite good at Daytona, and he drove Porsche. So we thought, we'll go with that. I mean, don't tell anyone that our car's not actually a Porsche, but it looks like one.
Well, to be honest, at the end of the race, we were calling it a Porsche anyway.
Yeah.
we didn't even bother calling it whatever the hell it's meant to be. But I mean, boys, that looked like one hell of a fun event. You had so many amazing looking and sounding cars around you, not alone the car you were driving. But the conditions looked fantastic. The traffic looked pretty manageable as well. But were there any moments in that where you thought, oh, hello, that's a bit scary?
It was great, to be honest. I think the traffic really well behaved. There was no major incidents. I don't think we saw. It was great fun, for sure. Really, really good fun. Great team. Not only with Peter with the car with me, but we had Josh, Ryan, and Luke helping us out, supporting us. So yeah, it was a great team effort.
Yeah, I totally agree with Paul. I think what you guys are doing at SRM is fantastic. The whole atmosphere of everyone that races, it's good, hard racing, but fun and respectful, and it's really, really enjoyable to take part in these events. And I mean, how cool is it to drive some cars which you just don't get the chance to? You can drive them anytime you want on iRacing, but you can't race them. So for me to get to drive the HPD again and to race it and see those GT1 cars out there, absolutely top marks. Loved it.
And what was it like when you boys went past one of the Corvettes? I know there was only 2 of them out there in the early stages, 1 for the rest of the race. But that thing is literally like a rolling thunderstorm, isn't it, whenever you go near it?
Yeah, I always just gave a nod of appreciation to them because keeping it on the road is not easy. But Aston's the same. I mean, they are seriously difficult cars to drive. They're hugely evocative cars, and yeah, big respect to them. Problem was they're so damn fast on the straight.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness me, you really had to be. I think Paul would agree with this, especially when we were trying to hit a certain fuel number, trying to judge the GT1's pace, because on the straights they're really similar, and then you're obviously much better on the brakes and the cornering with the prototype. But you know, Paul could probably tell you sometimes that those last couple of stints, having to make those long fuel stints, and a lot of the times you were just saying, no, I'm not going to go by, I'm actually going to breathe out the throttle and just sit behind the GT1 car because they were just so good.
Well, it's certainly...
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, go on, Paul.
Sorry, Chaz. Just saying, when you're chasing like a fuel target per lap, you try to use everything to your advantage. And the GT1s they were great help for us in some of those laps. So.
Well, it's an unlikely source of help, really, but still, it's great to see. Great to see it worked out for you, boys. A solid result indeed. Can we expect to see you in more of these than in future? I imagine the answer is yes.
Well, we've actually, along with Ben Gregory, we've just been brainstorming the next special event.
Oh, right.
And we were thinking perhaps Riley Daytona prototypes at Knockhill.
Reverse.
No. Come on, let's not be silly. Yeah, and yeah, maybe I don't know. I think that would be quite a good one to throw in there. I think the Riley's a great car. I think it's free as well, isn't it?
I think it is now. And to be honest, that car is amazing anywhere. When
awesome.
I was in what is now Pure Sims, actually, I was in CQR for quite a while, and there were real racing drivers there that got 9 or 10 of us in a server, and before we went racing at any circuit in a league, even whether it was GT cars or touring cars, all 10 of us would sit in the Riley. And the racecraft you can have, and the racing, like door to door in that thing you can have, while still being able to save it, is just unbelievable. And we used to knock 7 shades of rubbish out of each other, but we'd still keep all the cars on the road, and it would get you used to where you can go later on the brakes, where you can send it, where you shouldn't defend, and all this. And yeah, I think to be honest, I'd love to do an event with them at some point in future. I'm not quite sure how soon, but still, yeah, sounds like a good shout.
Well, you can count on our entry for that. But and also because we, as you've noticed, we do like running a throwback livery of Luke. It would take years off Luke's life by saying, "Oh, can we do this? Can we do?" I'm the idea man. He's the execution man. And there's lots of Porsche-powered Rileys in history. So there's a lot. We could have a Brumos car. We were actually talking. We could have a Paul Newman cars. The original cars was sponsored on the side of a Daytona prototype.
No way.
With Paul Newman driving, when he was the oldest guy in the race.
Flipping heck.
In history, actually. Yeah.
Would that have been 2002, 3?
Yeah. I think it might be 03 actually.
Yeah.
But it was at 02, 03. In fact, it was 03 because that was the year a Porsche GT car won it overall.
Flipping heck.
Yeah. Now I want to know, Chaz, who won the game of Minecraft Uno between you and 97-time British touring car winner Jason Plato? Who won?
To be honest, I don't think either of us really knew what the hell we were doing, other than raiding that poor hotel stockroom for chocolate at 1 a.m. But it was certainly an interesting concept. I can tell you that. I'm not very good at Uno anyway. My son always absolutely batters me at it. And when you throw Minecraft into the mix as well, and the walking chaos and brilliance that is Jason Plato, it was. I don't think it was ever going to be a game that went well.
So it was a draw then, is what you're saying?
I think it was. Yeah, it wasn't long after that we conceded. We were both too drunk and knackered and should just go to bed.
Well, what I would like though is for Ed to tell us a joke. Since we got on the podium, we're feeling quite full of ourselves. So if Ed could tell us a joke, that would be great. I think that would really finish off this wonderful event. If Ed May could tell us a joke, because he's a fantastic driver, a fantastic commentator, but he really excels himself as a comedian, and he's not resisting from what I can hear.
Peter, as much as I love you, and you know I love you,
yes.
If you get a race win, and then you'll get a joke.
No, podium will do. Paul, surely podium's good enough, is it not?
I don't know. That felt like a win to me, man.
I felt like,
I've got to
it
stick.
felt like we won 10 wins at once for us. I mean, against some big names, big names. I'm gonna every time now I'm commentating on a World GT Championship. I'm like, oh, Boosted Motorsport, beat them. No, I won't. Come on, Eddie, come on. Yeah, do the job.
No.
Come on.
Chaz, bail me out. Chaz, save me, Chaz.
Come on. Ed,
I'm
come on.
sitting here in quiet until you do it, Ed.
Yeah, Chaz, you're the boss. Just tell him he's got to do the job.
I mean, I've already paid him, but
Well, there you
he's
go.
just disconnected from
my
Discord.
God, he's gone.
We do need to move on to another interview, I'm afraid, boys. But before I let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
You guys, top job, great, really enjoyable event. I think sure Paul will agree. Really enjoyable event, and to get to drive, get to race that brilliant car again. That's a real treat. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, top job to you guys for organising it, and all the guys taking part, because the atmosphere out on track was brilliant.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Thanks a lot. Great event. More of them, please. And
Yes,
yeah, and obviously a shout out to my team, right? The rest of them.
yeah, pick up the
Josh
Porsche Sport,
Cam.
massive eye.
That goes very well with the music that's just come on, Peter. Thank you very much.
Can't wait for DPs at Knock Hill. It's going to be amazing.
We'll see you soon, boys. Thanks very much, and well done on a solid result.
Cheerio.
Cracking stuff. Always entertaining, Ed, when we get them boys
Oh,
in.
dear.
It always is. We're going to very quickly go through one final interview, though, Ed, if you want to take it away with Monsieur Macaulay.
Thank you very much, Chaz. Well, I need a bit of a deep breath, but we ain't got time because we've got Dan Macaulay in the booth. And Dan, that was a brilliant way to end out what's been a good campaign for you in the SRM group, just off the back of your good little battle all the way through last season in the GT4s. You're coming through into the GT1s and coming through with a very strong podium. You've got to be feeling good after that.
I mean, we beat RD, so that's all that really matters, I suppose.
I was about to say, was
they
that...
might have beat us in GT4, but we won with the big boys are at to play, so yeah, happy with that one.
I was about to say, was that weighing on your mind? And I think you've just answered that. It must be feeling very good to obviously get one over on them. But just talk us through the race itself. It was quite a frantic opening stint of the race. And just talk us through sort of the process that you were going through and sort of the way you were approaching it.
At the start, well, obviously the Brabham guys put a mega quali lap in. I think I could have matched it on one lap, but yes, it wasn't really comfortably within our reach, so we kind of thought we need to try and get to second straight away, fuel save behind them, because as soon as they got the slightest bit of a gap going through the traffic, they were going to drive away. We had no idea what they were going to do in strategy as well, so it was just try and copy them and see what we can do, use them to our advantage. And you know, for the majority of the stint, it keeps going well. Within a couple of laps, we're in P2, following and working quite well. And then I could sort of see them starting to back the field up more and more and more, which wasn't really helping us because it was allowing Cam to save more fuel, and then it was backing us up to people that normally, if the race had been going at full speed, we probably would have broken away from. So there was kind of some discussion: do we try and go past Dan with 2 or 3 laps to go, and maybe try and drag him along a little bit just to try and help him save the lap of fuel that he needed? And we never really got the chance. Ben made his move, and yeah, there was just a bit of chaos after the first stop, and once Dan had a gap, that was it. Through the traffic, if there's a couple of cars, you make a gap, but Dan was making his own gap, and it was closing very quickly after, so yeah, he was away into the distance, and I don't know how they done it, but fair play to them for going that whole race on one set of tyres. That kind of, even if we had been with them, we were always planning to take tyres, so they would have caught us out on that one.
Yeah, and obviously it was a good car to drive, the Aston Martin. It sounds amazing, and obviously coming into this, me and Chaz were talking just endlessly about getting these cars back out on circuit. Did it feel good to get back behind the wheel of the Aston Martin?
It's actually the first race I've ever done in it. I've owned it for a long time, and it's always been the sort of car that, you know, you just jump in the sim, turn all the assists off, blast the volume up and go and smash it around Bathurst or something. But to actually race it over an hour was pretty daunting. So me and Lewis have been practicing in it thinking, oh, this is a bit of a dog, but once you get settled down, it is actually a pretty natural thing. it's very, very unforgiving, as Lewis found out. If you have traffic that's hesitant, it's a nightmare. There was quite a few HPDs showing the nose and not committing, and then you kind of carry speed to let them up the inside, and then you're too busy looking at what they're doing, and it's so easy to run wide, and the car oversteers when it's got no input, so it's very easy to end up backwards. But it's good to see these cars getting some light again. I think they are very slept on. It'd be good to get them on the new tyre model and get a bit more participation back into them.
Yeah, well, hopefully they do, because like I say, we've been treated to some excellent racing in these cars, and fingers crossed we do see them getting a little bit more love from iRacing. But tell you what, mate, you've been an absolute star here tonight. Yourself and Lewis Ford have thoroughly earned your second place. I'll let you get off to celebrate with him, but before we do, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out on the broadcast?
Just big shout out to Lewis. That was a mega stint from him. Managed to close the gap, but not enough. Shout out to Mark for helping with the strategy as well. He sent us some spreadsheets, so that kind of helped us a little bit. And just thanks to you guys for organising and commentating. It's, as everyone else has said before me, it's been a brilliant event, so hopefully more to come.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much, Dan, and best of luck for next season, of course, in the SRM GT4s.
Cheers, guys. Look forward to it.
Cheers, mate. Well, there we go, Ed. We have reached the end of another amazing event here. It's a lot later than it normally is when we finish an event, but it's just part and parcel of doing these endurance races. I've absolutely loved every moment of this. It's been wonderful seeing not just the HPD ARX-01C, not just the Aston Martin DBR9 or the Corvette C6R, but of course the BMW Z4 GT3 as well. We've had an amazing mix of machines out there, and I could just honestly watch it all over again for another 2.5 hours. What about you?
Yeah, same. I could do just the same, and I hope that we do get to see these cars out on the circuit in another way, shape or form. Have been sadly overlooked, and it's great to get the spotlight back onto them and showcase just how good the racing can be in these cars. There are some excellent battles at the start and also at the end as well. That little battle just in those dying moments between Paul Rieger and Thomas Fisher in the LMP2 class, the HPDs. They put on an excellent little show for us. But yeah, I think it is time for me and you to get off to bed. But what an event yet again from SRM. Sim Racing Magazine always seems to deliver.
It absolutely does, yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Ed, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Thank you, Andy Marston, everyone at Sim Racing Magazine, Heinz Mayer as well of Orris Digital, our sponsor for the Sim Racing Magazine Daytona Classic. Archie and his brother take the win for RD Sim Sport 4. Brabham Esports GT1 take the win in the Aston Martins. And then, of course, Orbit Motorsport and Demon Tweaks bringing that amazing livery back from the dead to take the victory in GT3. Amazing stuff indeed. I do think, though, that we all know that we have a certain favourite car here on this broadcast, and I think it's only fair that with it being our sponsor car for this race, we do give the Corvette C6R the last word here on Sim Racing Magazine. So I'm going to turn up the volume. I'm going to play this at full speed, and I hope that you enjoy a lap or so on board with the C6R. But for now, everyone, enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you soon.